What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Friday, TGIF. Thank gosh it's football Friday. DK show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Google and Alexa home devices, your Sports Talk app. Video stream also up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Appreciate you making this part of your starts if you're already up and at it. Game plan, you know it. You know it. We're going to talk some green and gold versus the red and gold over there. San Francisco Packers tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Keys to victory, key matchups. Give me your predictions too. All right. I want everything from you this morning. Okay. I want everything. Start to hit us up with those texts on the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line 715-830-1912. All right. We'll break it down. I know all week we've been kind of touching on the game here and there. 5 reasons why they will win, 5 reasons they won't, 10 most important, players and such. Now we break it all down. And now we get your predictions for this game. Packers yesterday, final practice. Jair did not practice, although listed as questionable. A.J. Dillon actually did a little bit of practice, and first time in a couple weeks here. He's missed the last couple games, but he's listed as questionable. So could he have a shot to potentially be in the lineup for this game? We'll know more obviously tomorrow with the designations and active players and such. But overall, I mean, we're really hoping for Jair, right? We're really hoping for Jair. So, but that's kind of your practice report over there. Packers be flying out today to head over to San Francisco. We'll take a look at the other playoff matchups coming up here too. Super Wildcard Weekend. Wildcard Weekend's one of my favorite weekends in all of sports. Games besides Green Bay. I mean, we take away Green Bay and such, and it's probably it really wasn't a whole lot of maybe good ones out there or entertaining ones, if you will. But we'll see how this weekend goes. I think we might have a couple of good ones on the docket here. We've got, Ravens taking on the Texans, Tampa Bay visiting Detroit, and then, of course, the one that's getting all the attention out there, Buffalo, Kansas City. Kansas City on the road. First time for Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. So we'll talk plenty of football this morning. Throughout the morning, we've got Brandon Berg, who will also be hopping on starting next hour. So we'll catch up with him, some of the local stuff. Chi High Hockey, big win last night over Hudson. I know wrestling. We had Eau Claire North taking down crosstown rival Memorial. There was some hoops action and such. So Brandon will help us break it all down, recap it, preview it, all that good stuff. Before Brandon hops on, we'll do another edition of Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. So we'll hit that up, talk some playoff injuries and such with Dr. Crow. Elsewhere, we might throw a little hoops talk in here. Badger men's basketball be looking to bounce back after their loss to Penn State the other night. They take on Indiana tonight. Bucks will be in action tomorrow as they take on the Detroit Pistons. They're also looking for a bounce back win after they lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers the other night. So we got that. We're going to do the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight. We've got cream of the crop. I want you all to play along with us too. Who's your cream of the crop from the past week since last Friday? Okay, your cream of the crop. If you could, it's kind of like maybe like a little shout out Friday, that sort of thing. But who would be your cream of the crop? Okay. Play along with us. Let us know. Hit us up with those texts, tweets, and Facebook messages. But we all know where we're going with this. We all know what we want to hit up right away, talk about right away. Game day is tomorrow. Almost here. Almost here. Don't have to wait till Sunday night or Sunday afternoon. It's going to be here right away tomorrow. Get your tailgates going, get your grills going, all that good stuff here. Let's just jump right into it. So, previewing it, key matchups, keys to victory. We've touched on it all week long. We know this is going to be a very tough matchup for Green Bay. When you look at the 49ers, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this, maybe following along from maybe just kind of casually observing, but 49ers offensively, pretty good. I would argue the most balanced offense in the entire league. You could maybe throw in, Miami into that conversation if you wanted to as well. But when you look at it in terms of yards per game, they're number 2 behind Miami. Total yards per game, passing yards per game. They're top 5, number 4. Rushing yards per game, number 3. Points per game, number 3. So for me, I mean, when you've got those top 5s and such, yeah, I would say you're pretty darn well balanced over there. 4,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard receiver. That's not Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk. Then you got Deebo on there too. Under 1,000, but we know he can do a boatload of different things on the offensive side. Christian McCaffrey led the league in rushing. George Kittle, tight end, over 1,000 yards. And then we haven't even talked about the defense yet. Defensively, in the regular season here, a solid unit too. Top 10 in yards allowed per game, total yards allowed per game. Outside the top 10 in passing yards allowed per game. Rushing, though, top 3. These are regular season numbers, 3rd in the league in stopping the run. Points allowed per game, 3rd best in the league, 17.5. Now, those numbers are great. They kind of give us a preview or a look back, I should say, on what the 49ers did in the regular season. To counter that maybe a little bit, you look at some of the teams that were ranked higher than them. Kansas City, points per game. Green Bay beat them. Now, Green Bay was at Lambeau and such, but still. Dallas was top 5, points allowed per game. We know what Green Bay just did to them. So, does it tell the story? Does it tell you how the game's going to go? No. Just kind of gives you a little bit of a maybe background, a little bit of a preview in case you don't follow the 49ers or don't know a whole lot about what they've been able to do so far this year. But the 49ers have been a bugaboo for that's politely putting it, but they've been a bugaboo for the Packers the last few years in the postseason. We can think of a lot of those games, right? We can think of the divisional round just a couple years ago. Rodgers' last playoff game. Block punt. We know how that one went. NFC Championship. We know how that one went. How many times did Jimmy Garoppolo throw the ball? 9? 9 times? 10 times? 11? Whatever the heck it was. So we've seen our share of issues when it's come to the 49ers in the postseason, right? We've seen that. So is there a shot? Is there a chance that this scrappy, young, inexperienced, don't give a rip Packers team can go into San Francisco and upsets the favorite in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl, one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl? Can Matt LaFleur exercise the demons of his former boss, Kyle Shanahan? Can he do it? with this team, a team that got in the final week of the regular season, a team that has had so many waves, ups and downs, inconsistency throughout. Is there a way? What is that way? How can they get it done? If you were building the game plan, both offensively and defensively, how are we going to do it? How are we going to build that game plan? Let's do it. Let's kind of get some thoughts and let's build it. All right. So let's get things going here. Where are you, Packers Nation? All right. I want to start to hear you too. Okay. Hit me up with a little text, maybe a little GPG, little Go Pack Go. Text it, tweet it, video stream it. I don't care. Whatever is easier for you. Let's get a little 715 Go Pack Go chant going there. Even if you're driving in the car, or maybe you're getting ready for work in the morning and you got us on in the background, you're getting ready maybe to hop in a shower, maybe have some coffee or even, you know, some breakfast or something like that. Just say under your breath a little. Let's hear it, little Go Pack Go over there. All right. Let's get going here. Let's get the enthusiasm rolling here. GPG, man. First break. Let's come up with that game plan on how to beat these 49ers of San Francisco. for that caffeine kick to get you going each morning and throughout the day? Well, hey, that's easy because you're looking for our friends, Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Whether you are in the mood for coffee, tea, or a nice energy drink, Cabin Coffee has something to help you get going in the mornings and throughout your day. Cabin Coffee also has a breakfast and lunch menu with a wide range of options for you to choose from to help you going throughout your day. Don't settle for those low quality drinks and food choices to fill that energy void. Go for the fresh and high quality stuff. Cabin Coffee and Altoona because you and your taste buds deserve better. Latest episode of the Man Cave podcast, by the way. We talked with former Badger offensive lineman Joe Grabowski, who's also owner of Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Talk a little bit about bulletin board material heading into games. As an offensive lineman, when you hear maybe an opponent's kind of talking a little trash, talking a little bit about your quarterback, what's that like from an offensive lineman standpoint? And those cold weather games, no sleeves, sleeves, well, all that stuff. So you can check it out. Speaking of the podcast too, it is now available on YouTube. So if you don't have like Apple or Spotify, or you don't want to listen to those, it's now easier to listen on the YouTube page. All right, youtube.com/@ and Casper on there. Otherwise, you can like YouTube Man Cave Podcast, but automatically gets uploaded up there now too. Technology, man, so simple, so simple. So, but check it out over there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel too. That way you can see or listen to those podcast episodes. Check out the live stream of the show, and we got another Green and Gold Chalk Talk video dropping later this morning. Let's jump into it. Packers taking on the 49ers. You all know that, right? Breaking news. Tomorrow night, 7:15 game time. Kickoff on Fox. Keys to victory, key matchups. Coming up with a game plan for this game here. We know how good the 49ers are offensively. Pretty darn good defensively too. One of the most complete teams in the entire National Football League. Number 1 seed for a reason. A favorite to go to the Super Bowl, a favorite to win the Super Bowl for a reason. How can this 7th seed Green Bay Packers go up against San Francisco, go over to California, and do what they did last week when they went to Texas and upset the Cowboys? Can they do it again? Second week in a row. How do they do it? What's that game plan? I'll just start off by saying this. We can come up with your game plan, or we could come up with game plans. We could come up with keys to victory, key matchups, yeah, players, that sort of stuff. My main one, my main key to victory, my main game plan, if you will, for this game, offensively and defensively, aggressive. Be aggressive. Got to be aggressive. Can't hold. Gonna have fun with this with Brandon later on. Waterboy reference. Dan Fouts can't hold anything back. It's because he didn't hold anything back. If anybody's watched that movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I mean, it's a risk. But again, like Apollo Creed in Rocky 3 tells Rocky, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Offensively, you got to stay aggressive in your play calling. Pedal to the metal. Don't let up. Matt LaFleur admitted they let up a little bit. I know he said at halftime that 2 feet on the gas pedal, and they kind of did let up when they let their starters out there a little bit. He knows that. He acknowledged it. You do have a lead. You do have a double-digit lead. I don't care at what point in the game. You do not let up and let San Francisco have a little bit of breathing room. But continuing to be aggressive in play calling, continuing to have that aggressive mindset on the offensive side. I have no problem if they win that toss again and say, we're going to take the ball and we're going to score. Might be easier said than done, but hey, that mentality, having that mentality, empowering your offense, empowering your quarterback. Now, it's not to say get stupid in your play calling where you're being overly aggressive and like abandoning the run and Aaron Jones and such. No. But there might be instances where, let's say, you're at the 30, the 49ers 30, and it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. Instead of attempting a field goal, hey, you got to be a little aggressive and try to pick up that first. Don't get complacent in your offensive play calling. Don't get complacent in your offensive scheme in this game. And defensively, same thing. Now it might be, I don't know if they're gonna what exactly what type of game plan Joe Barry's gonna have, focusing on stopping the run. Got to imagine that's gonna be a key in this thing. Although we've seen a few times this year where it seemed like maybe that wasn't. We know the mindset is to all right, we're gonna try to force you to put together consistently good offensive drives. Can you do it every single time you're out there? I feel like if there's one offense that can do that, that's the 49ers. And I think they're built that way because they're so I mean, they go up against those styles of defenses. And that's not just a Joe Barry thing, that's not just a Packers thing. A lot of defenses have this mentality now because of how the offenses are being played. Go out there and try to put together consistent drives, scoring drives every single time. 49ers know that. What do? They build an offense where they have almost that ability to go out there how many single times and have consistent drives. They can run the football. They can pass the football to their receivers. They have a really good tight end they can get the ball to. So I think you got to be a little bit more aggressive with this defense. The risk, there's a risk. You could get burned. But I'd rather go down fighting. I'd rather go down throwing punches, not literally throwing punches, but you know what I mean. Go down fighting. Not just like, all right, we're gonna try to play this thing safe. We're not gonna try to get blown out or anything. Be aggressive. And I think with the way your offense has been playing here too, I think the way the offense has been kind of humming along, you can afford to do that a little bit more. They've been coming away with I mean, look at the game last week against the Cowboys, touchdowns and such. So, earlier season when the offense wasn't playing well, not not putting together a lot of scoring drives, not being consistent, and put a little bit more pressure on the defense. Absolutely. Anybody who says otherwise, you're kidding yourself. But with the way the offense right now is kind of rolling, the way Jordan Love is playing, I think you could afford to be a little bit more aggressive with this defense. Now, the benefit for both these defenses is not just a benefit for Green Bay. It's a benefit for both of these defenses is that, these defenses, when they're at practice, they're practicing against offenses that are very similar to each other. There might be a couple of wrinkles here, there, a few wrinkles here, there that'll catch people off guard. But for the most part, the basics of the concepts of this offense are very similar. You're going to have a lot of misdirection. You're going to have some motion. You're going to have multiple formations where, it's going to be the same formation, but you're going to have different plays running out of that formation, trying to confuse the defense, trying to continue to get that defense guessing. And that's why, again, this communication factor is such a key. Defensive communication is going to be such a key to this thing. When you're coaching like basketball, like middle school or whatever level, a lot of these coaches will like keep talking. You're talking on picks, you're talking on screens, switches, all that sort of stuff. Talk, talk, talk. It's like that with this. You got to be more talking the better. I don't care. communicating, whether that's Darnell Savage on the back end, Quayle Walker, Devondre up front. Make sure that communication is rolling, is on par. It's everybody's talking. Because if it's going to be something like what that Tampa Bay game or something where it was just like, what the heck is going on? It's going to be a long night Saturday. It's going to be a long night. Communication is going to be such a huge key for this thing. And then, offensively too, I don't want to discredit communication on the offensive side, but I mean, you look at this 49ers front, you look at this 49ers defense. I mean, you got Fred Warner up there who is one of the best inside linebackers in the entire league. Entirely. You got a front with Bosa, Chase Young, Hargrove. I mean, defensive front that is pretty good. And right behind them is Fred Warner. That offensive line, you want to talk about a key, you want to talk about a key matchup or a key to victory. Again, it's like this every week. Up front, can that Packers offensive line, who's been playing really well, tackles have been playing really well. Can Zach Tom neutralize Bosa? Can Walker go out there and slow down Young on the edges? And then can that interior offensive line, Elton Jenkins, I think we're all pretty confident in Elton Jenkins, but can Myers and Runyon and maybe sometimes Sean Ryan, can they protect in the middle? Can they stop the 49ers from maybe bringing pressure up the middle in Jordan Love's face, trying to get him off his mark? If this offensive line, and don't want to discredit the running too, because can this offensive line continue to open up holes for Aaron Jones? The offensive line play for this Packers team is going to be insanely crucial for the success for Saturday night. If they can win at the line, up front, and kind of neutralize that front from the 49ers, giving Love some protection, opening up some holes for Aaron Jones, they got a shot at this thing. They got a shot. They did it against Dallas. You heard Micah Parsons for a couple times at the beginning of the game, but they did a hell of a job at slowing him down and taking him out of the game plan, moving the pocket a little bit. Chips. Now that's one defender over there for the Cowboys. I know they got Dexter Lawrence in that too, but you got some studs with this 49ers defense. A couple of dudes, few dudes actually, who could get after the quarterback and can kind of wreck a game. Tight ends are going to be a key factor in this too, in the blocking game. Whether it's full-on one-on-one blocking, double teaming, even, maybe some rubs or chips as they go out for a pass play. Running backs in the backfield, picking up the blitz. Patrick Taylor's pretty solid at that. Could we see him a little bit more? Aaron Jones, that dude will hold his own back there too. We saw it last week when he had that big blitz pickup on Micah Parsons. So, I mean, we can look at this every single angle, and it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. Offensive line, blocking, opening up lanes, communication, being aggressive. And I think, too, on the defensive side, no kind of like going off scripts, no player going like free willy over there and just trying to make a play. When we talk about Rashawn Gary, I think a big key in this one's going to be, with Rashawn Gary on the edge and obviously holding the edge and helping stop the run and maybe not over pursuing, because over pursuing and you got Christian McCaffrey hitting the edge and And nobody wants to see that. I think as soon as we see something like that, we're just kind of holding our breath that it's not going to be a big play or a long run or anything like that. But we know Green Bay likes to have a little bit of a rotation with their edge players. That's taking a hit. JJ's out. Kingsley Nabare's out. Could we see more snaps for a guy like Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness? Those three right now. It's those three. Can they get after Brock Purdy, get him off his mark? Going back to what Devontae Wyatt said the other day about, if we get pressure at him, he tends to, make mistakes. Guaranteed he's going to throw some interceptions, misses guys and that. I'm not trying to make any excuses for him because he said it the wrong way. He probably shouldn't have gone out there and said, yeah, if we could do that, put some pressure on him, guaranteed he's going to make mistakes. I think you're just kind of giving the 49ers offensive line a little bit of like, okay, young guy. You gave us a little bit of a bulletin board material, if you will. I think I know what he was getting at. The best way of probably saying something like that is like, we got to try to get after him and try to, fluster him and maybe get him off his mark and try to create some turnovers that way. Don't be throwing out the guaranteed portion of that thing. That's probably the big one out there. That's what they got to do. They got to get after him. They got to collapse that pocket on him. I mean, you got Trent Williams over there on the left side. And I think the way to get after Brock Purdy is to try to come up the middle and to try to go after those interior linemen from the 49ers. Could we see Quay Walker being active on there? Could we see him maybe coming up the middle on some blitzes? Quay Walker, I think, is going to be a dude who's going to be incredibly active in this game. This, you want to start to build a legacy. You want to start to kind of really solidify and put your name out there as one of the best linebackers in the game, one of the best defensive players in the game. You've got an opportunity to do this Saturday night, talking to Quay. If I'm building that defensive game plan, I'm telling Quay, get ready to play a lot of snaps and get ready to be all over the field and doing a bunch of different things. Because his responsibility a lot of times might be Christian McCaffrey, whether it's picking him up on a pass route if he's coming out over the edge or up the middle, stopping the run, or coming on a blitz up the middle to try to rattle Brock Purdy a little bit. Quay Walker's got to be a dude that's, I think, going to have his head on a swivel and be ready to do a boatload of stuff. Because if it is a passing situation, you got to get after Brock Purdy quick. He's got too many weapons. He can get that ball out quick too. Whether it's Kittle, whether it's Ayuk, whether it's Debo, whether it's Christian McCaffrey. If you're going to get that pressure on him, it's got to be fast. Don't allow him to have 4 or 5 seconds in that pocket and try to and pick apart the defense with that secondary. Don't let him do that. Got to get that pressure right away. It's going to be a tough task for this Packers defense to go up there. It's not to say that the Packers defense doesn't have guys. They got guys, right? They got players. I think we're all just kind of wondering, what's the scheme going to be? What's the game plan going to be? And I also think this has got to be a big game for a guy like Kenny Clark to go up there. I know was looking at stuff throughout the week, and if there was a crack in the foundation or maybe a weakness within this 49ers offense, a lot of talks about maybe potentially the interior offensive line for the 49ers. If that's the case, Kenny Clark's got to be dominant up front. Got to be a dude up there. He's got to get in the backfield. Whether it's stopping McCaffrey, whether it's getting pressure on Purdy right away. getting him off his mark right away. Kenny Clark's got to be that way. And it is going to be a risk. It might burn you, but if there was a day for a game for these corners, and I'm not expecting it, but if there was a game to do it, I think it would have to be tonight or tomorrow night. Let those corners be a little aggressive. Get them up front. Try to knock off those receivers timing wise, a little bit off the route. Give them a little, shove right away. Delay it by a split second or a second. That can make a lot of difference. If you're having success getting after Purdy, if you're having success with your rush, make it a little bit more difficult on him and get those guys up there, those corners up there. Play a little bump and run, if you will. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Can Green Bay do it though? Heck yeah, they can. I was talking to a couple 49ers fans. They're a little bit nervous. Just the way Jordan's playing, the offense is playing right now. They're a little bit nervous. You know, I know some people are talking about rust factor for the 49ers. We won't know that until the game gets kicked off and we see it. But if there is a rust factor, if it's clearly evident that the 49ers a little bit rusty because they haven't played in a couple weeks, some of their main dudes haven't played in a couple weeks. If it's evident that they're starting off that game a little slow, then that aggressiveness comes back and you better up it up a notch. Don't allow the 49ers to chip away at that rust, to knock it off and get in a groove. If it's evident at the beginning of that game in that first quarter that, all right, they got to get in a little bit of game shape here, turn up that aggressiveness another level. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of it defensively going after them. Take advantage of it offensively. Get that cushion right away on the scoreboard. But aggressiveness, I think, is the key word offensively and defensively for the Packers to try to go in there and come away with the upset. They got to do it. Mistake-free football. Offensively, 6, 7, 8-minute drives. Keeping San Francisco's offense on the sideline. Hopefully, when you get in that fourth quarter, if you're having those long sustained drives offensively, you're kind of wearing down a little bit of that San Francisco defense, but having those long drives, coming away with touchdowns too, not field goal attempts. It's got to be touchdowns. Mistake-free football. No extra possessions for the 49ers offense. No stupid penalties. You stop them on a third. Don't have a holding call. Don't have a face mask call. Don't give them extra possessions to right the ship or to have another shot at putting up points on that scoreboard. You're going to have to play close to a perfect game, a fundamentally sound football game. And if the 49ers aren't doing that, if they're having some mistakes, they've got some penalties in that, take advantage of it, baby. Go after it. Exploit it. You get into a 3rd and 7 situation with your defense out there, you better make that stop. Don't let them have those extra possessions and long drives either. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that they got to do to win this game. But if the offense can continue doing what they're doing, if Matt LaFleur continues to be in a zone play call and continues to kind of be one step ahead of the opposing defense coordinator, in this case, Steve Wilks, and the defense plays fundamentally sound football and they force some turnovers, winning that turnover battle, if they can force some turnovers, Green Bay's got a shot at this. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back to finish up the first hour after these quick words. It's that time of year where we may be stuck indoors for a bit, so you need to make sure those pantries, those refrigerators, those freezers fully stocked. So how do you do that while also saving some of your hard-earned money? Easy peasy. Just shop over at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Whether it's stocking the pantry with soups or dried goods or loading up the deep freezer with pizza and frozen foods, Hy-Vee's got the best selection to help keep you stocked during the winter months. Or if you just need a quick bite to eat, grab something from the food court or deli area. And with their Hy-Vee perks, you'll save money at the register and the gas pump. Stock up, on your favorite grocery items and save money with Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Cool note too, you can listen to more details on it on the Man Cave podcast here, because every week we got a little segment we call What Up Hy-Vee, good sponsors of the podcast. But next Friday, put this on your calendars, next Friday, they got like a salmon fest going on. Okay? Like actual salmon coming in. Well, I mean, they're going to be, dead in that, but they're going to fillet it for you there. It's going to be fresh Atlantic salmon over there. Really cool. Phil from Hy-Vee talks about it in our segment of What Up Hy-Vee. That's included in the Man Cave podcast over there. So 99-cent sales going on this week too. Plus, you want to get ready for the game tomorrow, do a little shopping spree, head on over to the team shop at Hy-Vee, grab some new swag, grab a 4-pack or 2 of Man Cave Light, grab some Dan Good burgers from the meat department. Boom, ready to go. That'll help you. That'll help the green and gold pick up the W tomorrow night. Catch up on some texts here on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We got Bees Mom, good Packer Friday morning. Y'all talk about certain players to step up. I think the coaching staff is key to victory. Have to come up with aggressive stuff to beat San Francisco. Go, Pack, go. Pack wins 24-23. Woohoo. G-Man. DK Pack is back. Keys to victory. Special teams, defense, and Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, and Matt LaFleur coaching. Go, Pack, go. Bucky will win tonight. Pack will win 30-24. The Pack move on to the next game. Do you remember the Jerry Rice fumble? That was not called. I do. I absolutely do remember that. Payback will happen tomorrow night. Go, Pack, go. And the Pack will win the turnover battle. Living the dream. Jeff, good morning, Dan. The blueprint to beating the 49ers has been established. Pressure Purdy. Attack their secondary. Love is good against pressure lately. And if Barry has the same scheme as the last couple of weeks, I could see an upset, set the tone early, and keep the pedal to the metal. Go, Pack, go. 24-17 Packers. Living a dream. Jeff. Brian on the video stream. I love all of our offensive weapons and the unselfishness of the receiving core of Next Man Up. We are dangerous because if you double team one receiver, another one pops open. I don't think we will have a problem on offense. It is our defense that needs to continue to play well. Props to Barry on game plan in the last few weeks. We can't make any mistakes. There you have it. Keep your thoughts coming via the text or video stream or Twitter or whatever it may be. A lot of us are superstitious when it comes to the sports world. Obviously, Morgan is not, because I did notice no Go Pack Go in the news like you had last week.
Oh, you think? I should have kept it alive? That's what made the playoff game such a win? I went back and forth. I thought about it, but everyone's tense about tomorrow.
I'm wearing the same underwear as I did last Sunday.
You probably haven't taken them off since. And I think if they win tomorrow, that's fine. People say keep wearing them, keep wearing them.
Yep, exactly.
Are you putting on a lucky jersey?
I'm going to be putting on, I think, a new Aaron Jones one.
Are you?
Aaron Jones jersey.
I think a lot of people are putting on a Jones jersey after last week.
Hudson's got a new A.J. Dillon jersey over there, too.
Quadzilla time.
Yeah, so he's a little banged up, though.
It's what I hear.
Hudson is.
Oh, what happened?
He got his first living room football injury last night. ER visit.
ER? That is banged up. What the heck happened,
He's got
Dad?
5 staples in his head.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Couch? Corner of a coffee table?
Yes.
Yep.
Dove into the couch, but the couch has a windowsill behind it.
Yeah.
And he was playing by himself because he likes to pretend he's so-and-so all the time.
Yeah, I get it.
And he dove in the couch, and you could just hear this loud crack.
No.
And nothing. He was holding his head, and then it just bursted out, blood and all that. Yeah.
Mom and Dad worse than him, or is
Mom was worse.
Yeah, because that's a lot of blood when kids do that. Yeah.
5 staples in his head.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty tough today.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to be
a sailor when he grows up, because he was not yelling at the doctors last night. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that you have an only child. I have an only child. Now I have a daughter, so I didn't have the stitches and the staples.
Mhm.
But one of the pure signs of an only child, same thing, living room. You know those when you have kids, sometimes get those Velcro mitts. You throw the ball, it sticks to the Velcro mitt,
Mhm.
take it off, throw it back,
Yep.
play that game. It's a little bit easier to get catch down because you're not chasing the ball all the time if it sticks to the mitt and just throw back and forth.
Yep.
So we had the Velcro paddles. Mom, I want to play catch. I said, well, hold on. I'll play catch with you later. We'll go out to the yard. Well, I must have taken too long. So little Siggy, she was probably 3 at this time, was in the living room. She took one of her Velcro pads and set it on the couch and then would back up and take the ball and throw it at the pad and then run and catch it and then
Yep.
come back and put it on hers and then take it off hers, throw it back. I'm like, that is a lonely only sports game right there.
Yeah.
So you got to know now, who is Hutsy B? Who is he channeling that brought him this injury? Because that's a bang up.
Probably a running back of some sorts
I'm
or something
thinking,
like that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Is he home from school today?
We gave him that option.
Yeah.
Wants to go.
Does he? Show it off.
That
Now he's going to be strutting down the hall,
I
ladies.
think part of it though too is because apparently they get crumble cookies and hot chocolate at school today.
Crumble?
Yeah.
That's kind of next level.
So I think that's the motivating factor for him.
Yeah, well, no
So,
doubt. And
yeah.
he's gonna get to tell the story too. He's
Yeah.
gonna get to tell
But he can't
everyone
he can't go outside for recess
the story.
because he
Oh,
can't wear stocking cap.
what a bummer.
So
That'll keep mom and dad up at night. That's
Yeah.
a tough one.
Yeah.
But
But
he's
it's
gonna
kind
be
of a sign
okay.
because he lost his stocking cap yesterday. I picked him up and he's not wearing a hat. I'm like, where is it?
Oh no. I can tell you firsthand, the mother of a middle schooler, I feel like getting a shirt that says my child owns a coat.
Mm-hmm.
And any kid I see in the grade, either not wearing a coat or they have the hood on their head and they're wearing it like a cape.
Yeah.
But I was picking her up from basketball practice. These kids have shorts on, barely. I want to. The mom in me wants to tackle them and wrap them in a blanket. But at least I'm not alone. It's not just my kid. The
Yeah.
kids are out on recess or running around in this with no coats and hats.
I see even some parents doing that. And I'm like, that's the example right there.
Yep. Look what you're setting an
Yeah,
example
exactly.
for. All right, who you calling tomorrow? Come on, it's on that. It's
I
on
got
the-
it. I'm
everyone's-
superstitious, so
I
I'm
know you
falling
are.
on the sword. I did it last week. Everybody hated me, and I'll continue to do it. I'll take one for the team. I'll take the 49ers.
Oh, you're going to be walking out of here with staples in your head at the end of the day. You keep saying
Probably.
that around the office.
morning. I'm Jill Welke.
Keep your feet warm and dry this winter with the Shoe Doctor in Eau Claire. Only the Shoe Doctor has over 4,500 styles of footwear and personalized fitting for everyone in your family. It's backed by the Shoe Doctor's exclusive 30-day comfort guarantee, so you know you'll walk away happy. The selection, brands, sizes, widths, service, and prices that fit just right. Come see for yourself at the Shoe Doctor. Easy to find. 2321 Claremont near Fairfax in Eau Claire. Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No fee refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Legendary.
Welcome to Dan Casper Show.
What time is it? Dan!
I can tell you that. I don't know how, but the whole world gonna know my name. Just wait. They gon' talk about me. Things ain't never gonna be the same.
This is the Dan Casper Show.
Wait for me. Make me for me. You know I'm gonna. Yeah, just wait for me. Make way for me. You know I'm gonna.
Second hour kicking off on this Friday morning of January 19th. You're up and at it already this morning. Appreciate you making us part of your start. We're going to catch up with Mr. Brandon Berg in just a little bit. Busy nights on the prep scene last night. Shire hockey, big win against Hudson. I know Eau Claire North and Memorial Wrestling were in action too. North got the victory there too. So we'll recap some of the prep stuff with Brandon. Look ahead to what's on the docket. Get back to some more football chat as well, taking a look at the divisional round of the postseason, including Green Bay taking on the 49ers tomorrow night. We kick off this hour, though, like we do every Friday morning, a little inside the training room.
Paging Dr. Crow. Breaking down the latest in sports injuries. It's time for Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crow. On the Dan Casper Show.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Crow here this morning. Before we get to some football playoff injuries here, Austin, I want to go to the NBA here because I think Bucks fans are kind of holding their breaths a little bit with Giannis. Giannis the other night was a late scratch of the game, and they're calling it. I had seen a right shoulder contusion. At that point, they didn't, know a whole lot. At least the head coach Adrian Griffin said didn't expect it to be too long, but kind of day to day. So we know contusion is bruise and all that sort of stuff. But where, like on the right shoulder, would it be in a specific spot where he couldn't be able to go or anything like that? Or is that kind of open-ended at that point?
Yeah, it's pretty nebulous. Contusions, I mean, we obviously can get them anywhere, right? Anytime you have an impact or blow to any part of your body, you can get a contusion, which is AKA a bruise. And obviously when you first hear that, people are like, well, a bruise. I mean, that's not much. But there are areas that are very sensitive to that, and especially if you get down deep in the tissues, so deep muscle, even down to the bone, that can happen. So I think long-term wouldn't have a big concern for it, but it can be something that could bother him. And obviously, if it's going to affect your shot or dribble, rebounding abilities, all those kind of things, just because the ability to move the arm effectively. And as we all know, the NBA is pretty quick to pull the trigger on getting guys rest.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at it in that, I wouldn't chalk this up to a big concern, truthfully. But obviously, you got to see how it plays out. But I think it'll be okay.
And I know this is a little bit older here too, but Ja Morant, he only played 9 games. He was dealing with a suspension, but he's now done for the season too with a shin injury. I don't know if they announced exactly what it is, but the fact that he's done for the season, I got to imagine maybe surgery involved in that.
Yeah, I believe they said he did. He either did or is going to.
Or he would have, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to remember when I read if he either did or is going to, but that was for a labral tear. So
okay.
That's going to be just a quick recap. Labrum is basically a little fibrocartilage ring that runs around the socket and stabilizes the shoulder through most parts of it. The top part is an anchor for the bicep. So both can be problematic. In this setting, I'm assuming it was an anterior or posterior tear that resulted in shoulder instability. So it doesn't always mean the shoulder fully comes out of socket. It can be unstable and drifting. But we all know how explosive he is as a player. And so he puts his body in some real pretty tough spots. And so for a guy like that to have a shoulder that has any issues with instability, I can certainly imagine that'd be very symptomatic for him. So they opted to go right for the surgery as opposed to going on the rehab option. And there are times where you see an MRI and it's just like, look, surgery just is unfortunately the way to go. And certainly in this case, that's what was elected to be done.
Let's move over to the postseason here. First, I want to go back to the Chiefs and Dolphins in that cold weather game there. When players play in an environment like that, does that increase the risk? I know you got frostbites, to worry about and such, but does that increase the chances of any other injuries to pop up? I mean, does it like make the muscles really cold and kind of increase that chance for a tear or something like that, or not? Does the weather not really affect that?
I mean, it does to a certain degree. Those guys are doing their best to stay warm on the sidelines, literally and figuratively, as far as staying warmed up doing drills and staying loose and limber. But I think the biggest concern would be an increase in soft tissue injuries. So going to be hamstring, calf, where you just kind of tighten up being cold in the sidelines. But again, these guys aren't just like, sitting down and not moving for 15 minutes while the offense or defense vice versa is out there. So I think that'd be the one thing. As far as like ligament or bony injuries, nothing like that. Obviously, even equipment can get brittle. We saw Mahomes' helmet just shatter, which was a pretty head-scratching thing. I mean, not that it happened, but they didn't stop play immediately. I mean, there's officials that are watching from cameras. Everyone saw he had a broken helmet. I cannot believe they let him keep playing. I know it was only one play, maybe one or two plays, but I was like, how are they not stopping this? I mean, literally a shattered helmet. It was something else.
Do you, by chance, I don't know if you know this, do you by chance know, like, if somebody goes in for a concussion evaluation in an NFL game, what that test is like or how quick that test is?
Variable. So so we do some concussion work. When I was in my fellowship, we assess athletes on the sidelines, and there's some things it's called SCAT assessments, and there's a couple different tests that we use for basically on field. But really, it really is an initial like cursory assessment to say, is there a sign of something bigger? And more or less, that's a screening test. So if those are positive, then you shut the athlete down, and then you do more intensive testing. So it's an initial survey exam. They're not able to do, like full diagnostics on the sidelines, and certainly like MRIs, EEGs, anything like that. But you're trying to basically catch something significant. And honestly, the threshold is supposed to be very, very low. I mean, they're supposed to say, look, if there's any signs of concussion, you're shut down. Obviously, there's been plays recently. I mean, Stafford comes to mind where he was laying there and, in slow-mo, you kind of see him roll his eyes, and I think that caught a lot of attention to social media, and whether that was real or not. I mean, if he comes off and exhibits zero signs of a concussion, they do. And the real challenge is these are professional athletes, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, I want to get back out there. And if they're not exhibiting signs, then they're not. But nowadays, the NFL has multiple levels of assessment. They have, again, I don't know if they're like in a booth in New York or something, they're watching on TV, and I believe it's athletic trainers and maybe even a neurologist or neurosurgeon that does assessments. And then every team also on the sidelines has one. One of my friends used to be the neurosurgeon for the Denver Broncos, and so he would do the concussion assessments on the sidelines. So those basically are supposed to be 2 steps that prevent this from happening. But I think, again, we also live in a day and age where people are micro dissecting TV film, and if they see a guy twitch one thing funny, like, look, that's a concussion, and that doesn't necessarily mean that, but it is not like a torn ACL where you can MRI and it's a black and white yes or no. I mean, concussions are still not fully understood, and it's very difficult to detect subtle ones, and we don't even know the full danger of the subtle ones versus obviously, if someone's unconscious on the field posturing like Tua did a couple seasons ago, I mean, that's obviously going to raise everyone's eyebrows.
Right.
But there's this middle ground, and even on the real mild end, I mean, we think that maybe multiple mild concussions are just as significant as big ones. But again, it's still stuff that's not fully understood. So it's a hot button topic, absolutely, and I think will continue to be so for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. One player that potentially could come back and play this weekend, Mark Andrews, the tight end for the Ravens. So a little flashback back in middle of November, he was it was a drop tackle where he severely injured his left ankle, and at that point there was a lot of talk that he'd be done for the season. Ravens kind of left that door open, and now there's a chance that he could return. He's been practicing. And I read this on ESPN. I know we mentioned this before, but apparently he brought a hyperbaric oxygen chamber into his house to use over there. So I don't know if you heard. I tried looking it up quickly, like exactly what injury he suffered, but they're just saying it was a left ankle injury. I think I can picture the video right now of that drop tackle. It didn't look good or anything like that. But how effective could he be just a couple months after that injury? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so he almost certainly had either a Mason Move injury, which we've touched on in the past. That's like a severe high ankle sprain. Like it's where there's complete disruption of those ligaments. It's a specific pattern, but a lot of times it's that where the foot gets stuck in the ground, and then there's a real hard rotation. Obviously, the drop tackle adds not only the person getting injured, but the person tackling. That's like to double the weight and momentum that goes into it. So they certainly look really bad, and they are. But to answer your question, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably a combination of ligament and bony injuries. Ironically, if it's isolated bony injury, then it's more likely, more predictably, and more rapidly. So if he had an ankle injury where it was, let's say, a bimal or trimal equivalent, where you're getting predominantly bony injuries, they put plates and screws in the bones and heal up pretty well. So then, of course, you have to have the rehabilitation of the soft tissues around there, getting the tendons loose, getting the muscles to wake back up. So to answer your question explicitly, how effective? I mean, not 100%, no way. Could he be out there? I mean, we all know he's one of the elite tight ends in the NFL. And so I think if he's able to go back in and be at 70, 80%, is that good enough? Oh, we'll see. I'm guessing they're going to probably play it close to their vest to see how he's going to be able to come back and play. And because it seems like they're being kind of nebulous about whether or not going to be able to play. But I guess if every week is another week of rehabilitation and improved recovery, so it's possible, but it's certainly going to be a stretch. But I think this is more likely to recover than, let's say, that New York Jets quarterback who tore the Achilles. I can't remember his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
So to the hyperbaric chamber, I know that's something we've chatted about before in the past, and this might be a really stupid question, but because it provides oxygen, right, to try to help speed up the recovery in that. Does it benefit soft tissue injuries more or bone injuries more, or is it about even at that point?
I mean, in theory, it can be used for all. So I think, like we've discussed, I mean, the real evidence-based medicine use for that is going to be in non-healing wounds and people who have poor perfusion. So diabetics, people with vascular disease that literally have difficulty, because people with vascular disease, it's the main vessel. So let's say going down like your femoral artery becomes your popliteal tubular artery as it goes down, those become constricted, so they don't get enough blood flow. And one of the main things that blood delivers is oxygen. So if in those patients who don't have enough oxygen flow, or diabetics who have not the main vessels, it's actually what's called microvascular disease. So it's the small vessels that all the way at the end. In either event, at the end of the day, that tissue is not getting enough oxygen. So in those patients, if you ramp up the oxygen, you might be able to make a difference. And I say might. Again, in those cases, it's not always that effective, but it can be a difference maker. Now, a person who has normal perfusion, has that been shown? No, it's not really clear. And now these guys obviously have unlimited budgets virtually.
Yeah.
So they're saying, look, I'm going to throw everything I can at this. Again, it's not really been proven in a large study to make a huge difference, because I think the margins are very small. But again, people who have disease processes, diabetes, vascular disease, et cetera, those certainly has been used and been shown to improve, like non-healing ulcers in the feet, things like that wounds that have a hard time healing. So Again, these athletes, yeah, they try to do it, but they again are throwing everything at it and hoping something sticks.
Yeah. Last question for you. Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers. He's listed as questionable for this game, but they're calling it Achilles tendonitis. He's trending towards playing, it sounds like. You know, when you think of Achilles, I mean, you just mentioned that quarterback over there in New York, but I think of other injuries too. Like, does that with Achilles tendonitis, could that potentially lead to something more serious or a higher risk of injury or anything like that? Is that more just pain management at this point?
A little bit of both. I mean, we do know that ruptured tendons, so whether you're talking Achilles or quad or patella or biceps, whatever it may be, we do know that people who rupture them almost universally have some level of tendinopathy. Now, chronic tendinopathy, you basically get kind of micro damage and change to the collagen fibers that weaken it. Because I mean, anyone who's ruptured those tendons, they've done those movements, hundreds of thousands of times in their lives, and it's that one that ruptures it. So clearly something is different. So there's an underlying process. An acute, tendonitis like this is a little bit different, but there is certainly a risk factor for that. So I would say, let's say a muscular injury, so a calf injury compared to an Achilles tendonitis, I'd say the tendonitis is certainly more concerning for a rupture, but even then it's not super likely. I mean, we see lots and lots of athletes and adults with this problem and very, very few go on to rupturing. So I would say they're going to be doing in this setting more of a pain management, but I would say that athlete is at a higher risk for rupturing his Achilles than someone without it, but it's still not a high risk.
Interesting. And because they're talking potentially rain in San Francisco, would that make you a little bit more nervous about that too?
I guess maybe, but usually it's not like a slip that blows the Achilles. It's when they are really doing what we call eccentric loading. So basically the body's trying to stretch the Achilles and you're pushing against it. So both Cousins and Rogers, those obviously had really good video clips of it. Their body's going down, so they're stretching the Achilles out, and at the same time they're firing the muscle trying to pull against that. So that's called eccentric loading. That's almost always how you rupture major tendons in the body. And so that's usually not a slip mechanism, but it could be, I guess, in a certain circumstance. So I would say, that may affect the play of the game more so than the injury patterns this week.
Gotcha. He's Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Want to make a pick? You going to go all chalk? Do you have any upsets for this weekend?
Well, I will say, I mean, and a couple of my friends can verify, I did think that the Packers stood a reasonable chance against the Cowboys. I'm not sure this weekend. I think that it's going to be a tough matchup on the road. But you guys are playing well. I got to give you that. I think if you're able to get pressure on Purdy and can kind of keep CMC to, I mean, you're not going to be able to stop him, I don't think, but keep him reasonable. I think you're going to be able to kind of hang with them. So I don't think I would be shocked by an upset, but I do think the Niners are going to win. I would be surprised if Tampa is able to pull out a win.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then on the other side, let's see, who are the matchups? The Chiefs
Texans and Ravens
playing,
and Chiefs and Bills.
Ooh, yeah. Man, so one of my buddies coaches for the Texans, so I got to pull for them. I think they're the underdogs clearly, but TJ Stroud is playing phenomenally, so I would have to go on that side. But it should be some great games, no doubt about it. Some great matchups. Improbable, obviously. I don't think many people would have picked these in a kind of a playoff grid.
Exactly.
But certainly some great matchups.
Absolutely. Dude, we appreciate it as always, man. Stay warm out there. Enjoy the games, and we'll catch up with you again soon, bud.
Absolutely. You guys take care.
You got it. There you go. Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Really quick break here. B's waiting in the bullpen, donning his Brewers gear. We'll catch up with him here in just a couple minutes. Tax season's nearly upon us, and if you're looking for some suggestions or ideas on what to do with that tax return, think about maybe getting that new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center, especially now with the colder temperatures. Maybe you're thinking about getting some floors that heat up. Yeah, they can do that too. But upgrade your flooring game with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire, the best team in the area. They will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. Just stop on by. You can also visit their website, carpetcitywi.com. But stop on by and chat with the amazing team over there at Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. We'll get to the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlights as well. We'll do that probably just past 8 o'clock here as well. But again, reminder, if you're trying to figure out maybe to use your tax return on upgrading your home, think about the floors. Maybe think about adding some heated floors over there too. Stop on over at Carpet City Flooring Center. Learn a little bit more about that. Did you figure it out?
I think so.
Mic 2, I think it is. Turn it up a little bit. So, yeah, because it was somebody. It was. I know I turned that one down because for some reason I could hear it. Somebody came in here, and I don't know who it would be because I'm the only one in the studio. Turned it up so loud that I could hear it over here.
You could hear yourself think.
Yeah, and I'm like, no. So I know I turned that one down over there. So, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, real.
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. Let's before we get back to some football talk, let's chat up on some of the stuff that's going around in our immediate area. Let's start with hockey. Big win last night for Chi High.
Yes.
Over Hudson.
A big 3-0 win over Hudson. Chi High and this week is ranked second in the state in the Wisconsin Prep Hockey D1 state boys poll behind Stevens Point, a team that beat Chi High last month. But yeah, big 3-0 win over in Hudson. Now Chippewa owns a 2-game lead atop Big River standings as they get into the second half of the season. A couple goals for Gus Thorpe, a shutout for Mick Marlowe and net, and the Cardinals are really firing on all cylinders. Actually, the last team to beat Chi is Stevens Point, and that was right before Chris.
Okay.
They've in talking with that team a little bit since then, that was kind of a loss that kind of they had just kind of a stretch there where they lost to Stevens Point earlier. They lost to a University School of Milwaukee. They feel like they played up to their ability and kind of came out of the gates a little bit slow, and against really good teams you can't do that. And it seems like they've kind of got the urgency message, I guess, so to speak, about hey, you gotta come out ready to go because some of these teams you're going to face if you're not behind really quick, and they've taken that to heart over this last month.
I know North defeated New Richmond, little BRC action last night over there too, and then was it also Ram lost to Viroqua
in overtime?
In overtime. And in a non-conference, right? Yeah, non-conference.
Correct. Yep.
Over there too. So, girls wise for hockey,
girls hockey, I know Chippewa Falls picked up a win over Wisconsin Valley Union, which is a co-op around like Marshfield and Stevens Point.
Okay.
Last night 5-3. So, in the Big Rivers on the girls end of things, you got St. Croix Valley up on top, which is not a surprise. I mean, that's a really good co-op year in and year out. You got Chippewa Falls up there, Hudson, Eau Claire area, Western Wisconsin. So you've got those teams kind of getting that second run through. But now St. Croix Valley's got a little bit of a lead in that conference. So I think a lot of these teams are kind of trying to jockey for playoff position a little bit because pretty much all those teams are in the same section. So they'll battle for a conference title and they'll go play each other again in the playoffs. And the importance of being trying to get a top 4 seed and get a home game. But also I think last year showed that these teams in this area, I think, I think right now St. Croix Valley is got a pretty good case for being that 1 seed, but a lot of these teams can kind of beat each other, and that's going to make it really interesting come playoff time because that's kind of what happened last year. Is some of the upper seeds got knocked off earlier on, and it's in hockey. It's one of those things too where you get a hot goaltender and you just meet a team on the right day, and you can spring an upset. So. That's not too far around the corner here as we hit the latter half of January.
Absolutely. Hoops wise, McDonald's state ranked. Are they?
They are.
Girls state ranked.
The girls are ranked number 2 in the state. They've suffered their first loss Tuesday though to Hudson.
Okay.
A 1-point loss to obviously Hudson, a Division I Big Rivers team, but they got back on track last night with a win over Osseo Fairchild, and that's Yeah, a bit kind of like I mentioned more try hockey. That was kind of a game. That Tuesday game for them was a chance to kind of see. For them, it was kind of seeing the importance of just coming out ready to go in kind of a positive light. As far as they came out against Hudson, they were winning that game by 10.5 before the Raiders rallied, but kind of coming out with that sense of urgency all the time. Because they've had a fair amount of games this year that have been kind of lopsided. So just making sure you come out and be ready to go, because a month from now, when we're about ready to start the playoffs, you can't afford to have a slow start, because you have a slow start against a good team, you might not be able to come back. So,
staying with girls basketball, I saw this article you had written the other day. Little love to Cornell. They got a shot blocking
yes, they
force
do.
over there
Yes,
in
they
Cornell.
do. Yes, Lawrence Marzic, averaging around 7 blocks a game,
Man.
which it was one of those things where I remember it was a game they had played last week, and the coach had let me know afterwards, like, oh, she had like 18 block shots. I'm like, okay, well, that, like, you're always kind of wondering when it comes to count like stats, like, okay, well, how was that, like, how are you measuring like what a block shot is? So I was at their game Monday against Greenwood, and I'm like, well, I'll keep track myself, and I counted 10. And then I asked the coach after the game, and she counted 10 too. So I'm like, okay, well, like, I could see it, because I mean, she's just very good at, I mean, tall but also long arms, and just very good at kind of making life difficult around the basket. I mean, there'd be times where just someone go up for a shot, and she'd be like, nope.
Yeah.
Go up again, nope. Like,
Did she do the Dikembe Mutombo finger
no,
wave?
no. She was keeping it very sportsmanlike, so that's good. But but yeah, that's that's a very interesting kind of a weapon that Cornell has, because she can do that, but also she's a pretty good 3-point shooter too.
Oh,
so
spreads it out.
It's a skill set you don't see a lot in girls basketball, especially I would say in like with smaller schools around here. So it's it's a really cool story for for someone that's really come a long way in those aspects during her career.
How about staying with girls hoops, like BRC, Cloverbelt, and
Big
all that?
Rivers right now, kind of
Still Menominee
yeah,
over
still
there?
Menominee, Eau Claire Memorial. You've got Rice Lake piling up some wins in the conference too with the Shepley sisters. I mean, they're going to be a threat come the postseason, as they are pretty much across the board in sports. But and Hudson kind of up there as well. So that's in the case of the Big Rivers. And the Dun St. Croix, you've got Elk Mound still unbeaten up top in the conference. Colfax and Durand kind of a few games back, but Elk Mound is going to be a Division III threat once the postseason. Here, along with Altoona, who we talked a bit about the middle border last week, and how both boys and girls is very competitive at the top, and both the Altoona schools are in that, they're going to be in that race with the various middle border teams. That middle border is always a good basketball conference, so that's not going to be much of a surprise there. We talked a little bit about the Western Cloverbelt. McDonald's got a 1-game lead up on Fall Creek, beat Fall Creek a few weeks ago, and those teams are scheduled to play again later on, now that that's in the second half of the season. Boys basketball, Big Rivers, still Eau Claire Memorial. You got River Falls right there on the heels. They're a state-ranked D2 team. River Falls beat Chippewa Falls last night. So Western Cloverbelt, Bloomers up by a couple games on McDonald and the boys. They picked up a big win Tuesday night over Stanley Boyd.
You have a piece about Dominic on there too, right?
Well, it's yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about Dominic Schwarzenberger, the senior standout for Bloomer, but in that game Tuesday, it's kind of what I wrote about, which has been the kind of a big reason for their success this year. He's been as good as advertised. He's averaging around 25 points a game, but the reason they've been able to take this big step forward to become such a good team is because of the people developing around him. They're not the type of team that you can just, focus on shutting him down and, everything else kind of comes with it. They've got a lot of other good players that have really developed and kind of found their role. And that's the reason they keep finding ways to win games and win games impressively when, maybe he has an off night or an opposing defense just does a good job on him. So, and that's, I think, going to bode well for them in the second half here going into the Division III playoffs, because you can't just lean on one guy to do everything for you. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the sport. You can't just have one player that does everything. Eventually, that's going to get found out.
How about anything on your docket for wrestling coming up? I know we mentioned a little bit earlier, Eau Claire North crosstown rival defeating Memorial.
Yep, the trophy.
Last night. Yep,
that's a pretty cool trophy. I like that trophy. It's
I saw that.
It's kind of like an outline of Eau Claire with the river running through it. It's got the little, the logos for the schools. It's really cool.
Yep,
I like that. But
I like that too.
there's tournaments coming up pretty much every Saturday, but really, I'm not sure if there's too much as far as like big tournaments who I've mentioned the last few weeks. We had Cadott, we had Chippewa. You go back to last month, we had Eau Claire North, and big ones over the break. But we're kind of in that spot now where the conference tourneys are not that far away. I know the Clover Belt this year is in Neilsville. You've got some others. The Big Rivers doesn't have one, so I mean they're all duels. Like for a while ago when I first got here, they used to have like a crossover tourney with like I think it was the Dun St. Croix,
Okay.
which is always a good wrestling conference too. When you can think of some of the teams there with like Boyceville and Glenwood City
Right.
and stuff like that. But
Is Ellsworth in there too? Or?
Ellsworth is Middle Border.
Middle
But
Border,
they're
okay.
I mean that's another one. I mean
Yeah.
they're always very good.
Mhm.
I mean there's a reason you hear a lot about the same schools every year in wrestling because they've got the established programs.
Yep.
But we're still a few weeks away from that, so we're still kind of finishing up the last few rounds of conference action here, and the postseason's right around the corner. And wrestling last year they kind of made a bit of a move, especially I would say more so at the smaller divisions where they went to like fewer regionals, but the regionals they had are larger, and they've taken like more teams out of them, which I think is a good move because there's at one point you'd have like 6 or 7 teams in the regional at the time. I believe in D2 and 3 it was like top 2. You had to finish top 2 in your weight class to advance. But I remember one year it was Cadott. They had a regional with I think it was like them, Edgar, and Stratford, and you had like 3 state ranked kids in the same weight class.
Wow.
It's like obviously someone's getting left out,
Right.
and the kid that got left ended up ultimately finishing third. Went on. It was Gavin Teagles from Cadott. He ultimately went on to become a 2-time state champion. But it was I think it was maybe his freshman year. But like I think this is a better way to do it because kind of the cream rises to the top a little more, and we'll hear that a little bit next hour with our good friend the Macho Man. But I thought that was a good move, and I think that was something they kind of did during COVID, just and it's just something that stuck, and I think it was a good decision.
To kind of wrap it up, still got swimming and diving and gymnastics going on.
We do, yes. And actually, last night the Chahia McDonald gymnastics teams for the 3rd time this year set a program record for team scoring. I mean, they've been beating their own record a few times, so they picked up a win in a triangular at home. So I mean, that's a team they were 3rd in state last year. I mean, right now they're just looking to be peaking at the right time, as you say in sports. But that is a darn good team. I got a chance to see them last week, and it's impressive. And gymnastics for me is one of those things that I'll openly admit I don't know a ton about it, but gymnastics I think is one of those sports that you may not know a lot about it, but when you see someone do it well, they're doing it well, and it doesn't matter the event. Kind of the old saying, "I don't know art, but I know what I like." It's like I know what looks good in that sport because you can just tell that like when there's the crispness and there's just no wasted motion, and that's what it's like watching them. It's so impressive. And that's a team that's largely like juniors and younger. So, I mean, that's a team that's been really good the last few years, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, both with the veterans they have right now and then some of the younger competitors that are, coming up.
Right. All right. Good stuff there from B. Quick note on some of the Blue Gold stuff. We got a busy schedule coming up for the Blue Gold. By the way, a new episode of the Rolling with the Golds podcast dropped yesterday, talking a little hockey, talked with a couple of assistant captains from the men's hockey team over there. So Blue Gold wise, you got indoor track and field's going to be going on. You got gymnastics, hockey, men's hockey is going up against Superior, women's hockey going up against Stevens Point, wrestling taking on Platteville. And it's part of the track and field too. It's the UW Eau Claire triangular going on there as well. And then, of course, basketball taking on lacrosse.
And actually, last weekend, UW Eau Claire honored the 40th anniversary of their national champion men's hockey team. And actually, Jai head coach Scott Parker is a part of that team.
Oh, was he?
So he was there along with a bunch of other people, just getting the chance to kind of reconnect. But 40 years is a long time, but that's cool that so many people were able to make it back and kind of reminisce, because obviously that was a really special year for the Blue Goals program.
Absolutely. Stout wise too, I know their men's hockey team, they've got going up against Northern College, and their track and field is going to be looks like lacrosse over there too.
It's always good track and field weather indoors.
Yes, exactly. So And we know lacrosse has a really good outdoor facility, so I mean they've
And indoor.
Is it
We
in?
got
Okay.
yeah. Justice and I got a chance to see it at state track last year. We had all the rain.
Okay.
We wandered in there along with everybody else and got a chance to look around, and it's pretty sporty.
Pretty impressive. Nice.
It is.
So, all right, good stuff there from the local side. We'll take a quick break here, finish up the second hour. Send us your predictions for all the postseason games, or just make them online at sportstalk1051.com. Click on, it's not the win tab anymore. It's called the fan cave tab over there. Make your picks for this weekend's postseason games, which start tomorrow. All right. Or do that and then text us your picks too. So we'll get back to some more football talk coming up here in just a little bit. Also, cream of the crop, as Brandon alluded to. We'll get to that in the 8 o'clock hour. Play along with us. Who's your cream of the crop from the past week? We'll be back in just a couple minutes. New year, but still those same aches and pains. Do something about it. Make your appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Start living that pain-free and healthy life today. That way, when summer does roll around, you'll be able to enjoy those outdoor activities pain-free. Get started now by visiting cvosm.com to schedule your appointment. Dr. Crow, the entire team at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, is dedicated to providing you with the care that you need to get back to living your life pain-free. Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight for this week goes to...
We're going to go with someone that I didn't mention when we were just talking local, but definitely I think fits here, and that's Stanley Boyd Sr. Henry Hull, who became the program's career scoring leader earlier this week against Stratford. That was a mark that stood for close to, or actually a little more than 40 years, going back to the early 1980s. So
all right,
he overtook it. And he's got obviously the rest of the year to put a little distance on, and people around here will, if you haven't heard that name, you may in the coming years, because he's going to play in college at UW Eau Claire.
All right, nice pickup for Matt Cyberling's group over there. So, all right, there you go. There's your Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight. Surveyor Sam with a quick text checking in this morning. Keys to the game: me drinking Man Cave Light. Seriously, since the Panther game, I've had a Man Cave Light during the game, and they have won. Coincidence? I think not. By the way, coming soon now, Man Cave Light will be at Famous Dave's in Eau Claire. So there you go.
Expanding the brand.
Exactly. Anybody listening, if you have maybe a bar or a restaurant and interested maybe in carrying some Man Cave Light, just head to sportstalk1051.com. We got a banner on there. You can click on it. Has a list of where it's at. And if you want to interested in carrying it, you can type in your email and then somebody will get a hold of you. So making it easy that way for the brand. We got about 10 minutes to the top here. We'll get to the cream of the crop just past 8 o'clock. We got our picks coming up as well. How did you do with your playoff picks?
I got 3 right.
Yeah.
I could have had 4, but remember last week I
could have, would have, should have, man.
I know, like 3 seconds before I made the pick, I changed from the Buccaneers to the Eagles, and that was an oopsie on me.
Yeah.
So I had 3, which I saw it's pretty congested at the top with 4s and 3s.
Yeah, I didn't do that well either.
No, I got to think the first 3 right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the last 3 wrong.
Yeah.
Even though, assuming that, you're counting Buffalo on Sunday and not Monday.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. Because I got the Packer game wrong, I got the Rams game wrong, and I got the Monday night game wrong.
I think that's what I did too. I think that's, because I got the Browns one wrong. I only got a couple.
Oh.
Yeah, I went with defense over there. I know you picked the Texans. I remember that one.
I'm picking an entire bouquet of oopsie daisies.
Yeah. So, outside of, Packers ones for Packers fans, I love Super Wild Card Weekend, but it was kind of...
There weren't very many good games. Like, Lions and the Rams was.
Yeah.
And, like, the Steelers kind of kept it, like, maybe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, all the other ones... they weren't super competitive.
Right, exactly.
So hopefully that leads to more competitive this round.
Yeah,
which I think there will be.
I hope so. I think everybody's kind of focused on the Bills and the Chiefs game because of those two over there. Patrick Mahomes finally has a road playoff game, which is still kind of nuts to say.
It's a crazy stat to say.
Yeah. I hope just the Bills. I know they've lost some defensive players. I'd like it if it's like as healthy as it possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
That was I know we talked about last week. That was kind of the bummer with the Dolphins one.
Right.
You
didn't get to see him at full strength, and
right.
The weather played a bit of a role, but still, I don't know. Like the Chiefs just seemed like they were much more acclimated for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like they were a team that didn't care it was colder. They didn't change or adjust.
Right,
you know what I mean?
It was just like, okay, it's cold. Well, we'll just go do what we do.
Right.
As opposed to, well, we got, we're going to do this and this. Like,
yeah, we got to run the ball more, that sort of stuff. And no, they didn't feel like they changed a whole lot based off that. So, not really anything new in terms of coaching updates either out there. I know maybe some teams are waiting after the divisional round, see if any assistants potentially come available at this point. But hey, Billy Belichick's got a second interview this weekend with Atlanta, and now with the Cowboys holding on to McCarthy, is Atlanta the only option for Bill?
Maybe. That is kind of all the teams, I think that is the one that is maybe the most ready.
Yeah.
To have to drop him in there.
Well, and I had read, I don't know if it was Pro Football Talk. I think it was Pro Football Talk. said that they had heard, or sources told him that, like Bill wanted to get out of a major media market. But he's also, I think he's got to realize wherever you go, there's going to be an increase in media coverage.
You kind of transcend the market because you're Bill Belichick.
Right.
Like you could go to Butte, Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and coach football there, but people are going to be coming from all around to talk to you.
Exactly. So you in your first year, especially in the first few weeks, training camp, whatever, you will be a focus. It will be a focus. I don't care where you're going. And
Right.
I get it, maybe like an all season long sort of thing. But initially, it's going to be waves.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be waves. So Luke was actually the one that brought this up because I think we all know a quarterback they need. He said Kirk Cousins' wife is actually from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I'm like, ooh, more intrigue to the drama over there. Kirk want to play for Bill?
Be an interesting combo.
It
I
would
think they could
like
do
that?
it. I think they could do it.
Yeah. Would he like that?
We'll see.
Would they like that? I'm just trying to have fun there. But I mean, division-wise, it's pretty open, I would say,
Right.
at this point in time, talent-wise.
Yeah, that's
so
a place where you could walk in. And I said, of all the available spots, I think that's the best spot to walk in. And
2 years, get your record win, and maybe call it a career.
I think so. Like I do think anyone that hires Belichick knows that it's not going to be a 10-year thing. I think 2-3 years. But you walk into that spot that's got all those playmakers on offense, got a solid offensive line, got an ascending defense in a winnable division.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
You almost wonder, would they almost have a coach in waiting, kind of like what the Patriots had with Gerard Mayo?
Maybe.
To pair up with Bill?
Maybe.
It's almost kind of college-like feel there to have that coach in waiting.
Is it Josh McDaniels?
I hope not for their sake. But see, Bill O'Brien's going to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Wow. Back in the Big Ten. Man. So I saw that the other last time. Oh, interesting. Interesting move over there. Don't know how Ohio State fans feel about it right now. So, but and then Vrabel, his name's kind of been quiet too. You haven't heard a whole lot, but he just got done with the Seattle interview, I think it was, over there too. Not really hearing Pete Carroll's name mentioned with some of these, even though he's kind of insinuated he still wants to coach at this point in time. So, but we're going to save it for some picks and predicts. We know the Cowboys aren't making a move. Do you feel like the Eagles are going to?
I don't.
I don't either.
At this point, I feel like if you're going to, you would have already.
Yeah. So picks and predicts, we're going to match some coaches with some candidates out there. So that would be Washington, Atlanta, Carolina, Tennessee, Seattle, Chargers, Raiders.
I think that's it.
That's it, because New England's already got theirs over there. So I don't know. I'm starting to get a little. I thought Harbaugh was going to make the jump, but I don't know anymore now. I'm starting to. Did you see that report too, where even though he's taking these interviews, they're still negotiating a contract at Michigan, and part of that contract is he wants to be immune from any penalties, like any suspensions. Isn't that an admit of guilt then at that point?
Kind of.
Kind of like, hey, if I come back, I don't want to be suspended for any. I'm like, okay, so
it's kind of a dangerous line to walk. I mean, hey, I guess good for him on asking for it, but it's kind of a dangerous line to walk, isn't it?
I would think so. Or like maybe it was like the previous stuff or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, isn't it almost kind of inadvertently admitting, hey, I probably did something wrong, sort of stuff there. So, hey, kudos for him for trying it. I mean, he's on top of the mountain right now.
He's definitely got. I mean, he's got the leverage to ask for it.
Yeah, I just saw that the other day. I think it was like Pete Thamel, or no, it was some other Dan Wetzel, I think, said that or something like that. Who reported that? I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the last time you heard a coach say, "Yeah, I want in my contract, I'm not going to be penalized for prior infractions or something." So, but we'll make our picks for that coming up in the back end of the 8:00 hour over there too. So, we're going to break down more green and gold versus the red and gold, or is it maroon and gold?
I think it's more maroon.
Maroon gold, unless they're bringing back the 90s 49ers jerseys.
I'd be okay with that.
I would 100%. 94 era jersey there. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Brandon just told me that you were doing the Merton Hanks celebration as a kid and got hurt doing it or something?
Yeah, I mentioned you, but on couches, how they have those little felt buttons
Yeah.
that you stick in the couch.
Yep.
Like one of them just fell off one of our couches, and I stepped on it, and it hurt.
While you were doing the Merton
Well, I was
Hanks-
trying to do the Merton Haynes neck dance.
Gosh, that's one of those that I think people forget about. But if you grew up in our age, you did it at some point.
I've had friends of mine refer to it. I think Richie has he's referred to it without provocation, just gets brought up oh no, Merton Hanks, he did the.
Now I just think about that and I'm like, God, that would hurt.
Right, with a helmet on your head. Although
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how heavy that helmet was then, just because of technology then versus now, but
yeah,
still, that's a lot of motion going on.
Motion. Oh, I could go. Yep. All right. Shot clock's gonna cut us off here, so we'll get cream of the crop. Surveyor's got a cream of the crop. He's going with Menominee Wrestling, going undefeated and winning the BRC title. Way to go, boys!
There we go.
Over there. So, good one there. I know he's a Menominee, proud Menominee alum over there too. All right, you can play along. Send us your cream of the crops via the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text 715-830-1912. Final hour coming up here. We'll get back to some more football talk. Packers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. We will break that down, talk a little bit more about it, and predictions coming up a little bit later on as well. 2 in, 1 more to go. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Final hour on this Football Friday. We've got more football chat coming up here. Picks and predicts at the back end of this hour as well. Picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Don't forget to make your picks as well at our website, sportstalk1051.com. Also, text us your keys to victory, your key matchups, all that fun stuff. Let's do a little cream of the crop, shall we, to kick off the third and final hour. All right, Brandon, where are you going with your cream of the crop pick?
I'm going to go D'Amico Ryans.
Mm.
I mean, you look at the difference in the Texans a year ago to now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was no redeeming qualities about that franchise when he took over.
Yeah.
I mean, just, they were riding the struggle bus for a while. I mean, and shows the difference you can make in a year. You land your coach, you land your quarterback, and suddenly everything's looking rosy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a big part of that. I mean, he was someone that interviewed for some spots, and he was, he kind of obviously had his pick a little bit, and he picked Houston. I think some people were kind of wondering why. Now we're seeing why. We go back to the draft last year when they make that move to get that second first round pick to get
Anderson.
Will Anderson.
Yep.
Suddenly you got your quarterback and you got a cornerstone defensive guy, and that that pick isn't as high as for the Cardinals isn't as high as I think they were hoping, or at the very least expecting.
Well, and that win too also against the Browns, because they also have the Browns first round pick, so it lowered that for them too,
right,
from the Deshaun Watson trade.
Deal. So yeah, I mean, just goes to show how quickly things can turn, and good for them.
Yep. Mine's similar-ish. I'm going cream of the crops, the young guys, the young quarterbacks in this postseason. CJ Stroud. We're going to have Brock Purdy, who's just in his second year, and then Jordan Love for what he's doing. A lot of the talk is, when you look at some of the it's kind of interesting, isn't it, when you see this mixture of quarterbacks in the postseason? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, kind of the veterans of the group. And Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. He's been around for a little bit. But then you got the CJ Strouds, the Jordan Loves. Brock played last year in the postseason there for a little bit. And
then there's Baker Mayfield.
And then,
do not forget about Baker Mayfield.
Oh, somebody's going to give him a big deal. Probably Tampa Bay.
Probably. It just seems like there's a comfort there.
Yep. So, but the young guys having a fantastic weekend last weekend. That would be the Love and the CJ Stroud over there too. Surprising, I think, a lot of people over there. So that's my cream of the crop right now. Arrows trending upward for those young quarterbacks, I think. So, see, it's like, I know a lot of people are talking about, well, when you get a young quarterback, do you sit them like what the Packers do with Jordan Love? But then you got a guy like CJ Stroud who just goes out there, and
I think it's
different for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah. I think both those scenarios are what work best for those guys. I think coming out of college, CJ Stroud was a little bit more of a polished prospect compared to Jordan Love.
Yep, exactly.
And they just they both got what they needed.
Yep, totally agree. It's a case by case scenario,
right?
At that point. Okay, so the playoffs begin tomorrow. If the Texans beat the Ravens, can we make sure that next week's championship game is on a Saturday afternoon? If the Texans
somehow find a way to make it be 2:00 on NBC.
Yep, definitely. So you've got both the 1 seeds in action tomorrow with the Ravens hosting the Texans, and then of course the 49ers hosting the Packers, and then Sunday Buccaneers versus Lions, and then the nightcap for the weekend, the one that's probably going to get the most attention, Buffalo and Kansas City in Buffalo over there too. So see that Buffalo is going to need snow shovelers again. I don't think it's as bad as last time. I don't know if I'd want to go to a game where you're just literally like plowing through the snow.
Yeah, I'm sure people have seen that video of those people going to their seats and they're just like walking through the snow. That's up on the benches.
Right. Ooh. I mean, I've been in Lambeau many times during cold games, and those benches over there, sometimes you can't sit because everybody's like layered up, so there's not enough room. And then you're complaining about you're sitting in my seat, sort of thing. It's like that thing is just like, who cares at that point?
Right.
If you can find a spot.
Kind of like general admission seating at that point.
Which, by the way, Dallas, they're like free for all. As soon as the
I don't
doors
get.
open.
I don't
and-
understand why everyone's in such a hurry to run to their seats. You have your seat.
well, it's the standing room only ones,
Oh,
and they got a boatload of them.
I didn't know that.
So it's like they
My
just
mistake.
take off running for that thing. Like that's just how is something really bad not
Yeah,
happened
like how
yet?
someone trips or trips on
Mhm.
a shoelace and suddenly they get run over.
Yeah, but when you look at this weekend's games, is it that Buffalo and Kansas City one that intrigues you the most?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that has the most built-in history to it.
Yeah. Is it the new Peyton Brady rivalry
I've
that
seen
everybody's
someone
kind
make
of?
that comparison. I could buy that. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if it's quite at that level because they've played in the playoffs, but I mean, those guys play. Manning and Brady played all a ton. Which
Yeah.
give it a few more years and maybe that changes. But
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. And this one, I mean, I guess in that way, I guess would that make Mahomes the Brady right
Brady.
now because they've won them.
Yeah.
They've won them. So
Yeah.
and eventually Peyton Manning kind of got his and kind of reversed the trend in that rivalry. But
Right.
maybe this is that time.
It's kind of Patrick's got the MVPs though too, like Manning always got the
Right,
MVPs there
right.
too. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I it does give a nice little throwback to the '90s with it being Buffalo and Kansas City.
Right.
That sort of feel.
Feel like it's a game that needs to be on NBC with Dick Enberg on the call.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, non-Packer fan probably kind of looking at that one. I'm just worried about that Texans and Ravens one. Is it going to be a blowout? That makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not trying to discredit what the Texans or anything
No,
have
but
done,
the
Ravens are just
they're really,
they
really
were
good.
humming. How much do you factor in a rust factor for both the Niners and the Ravens?
And that's something I'm really curious to see because I think in both games, more specifically the Packer 49er game, but in both games, I think it's going to be a really good example of rest versus momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Because in both cases, the lower seeded team, be it the Texans or the Packers, are playing really well right now. And they've had to. They've had to kind of come from behind to get in the playoffs and then, score a road win last week versus the Ravens who have had 2 weeks off. And the 49ers, their last game they played that was meaningful was Christmas.
Yeah.
And they got smoked by the Ravens. So I think it's going to be a very interesting test case. And we've seen examples of both over the years of, a team in that spot struggle or a team in that spot just come out ready to go, like come out refreshed. So, we won't know and we can, form our narratives after Saturday's over, but it's going to be very interesting that you have both of those teams that are kind of in similar spots in those games.
You're right, because if there was clearly the right answer, everybody would be doing it the same way.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't always work one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. I almost feel like, and I've got nothing to base this off of, nothing whatsoever. But for a younger team like Texans and Green Bay, it's almost better for them not to have that bye so they can just keep going with that momentum.
I would say it's definitely better for the veteran team because they probably know how to handle it a little bit better, especially a team like the 49ers that have kind of been in that spot at times.
Ravens were a couple years ago when they did lose to the Titans in the divisional round, but maybe they learned a little bit from. And Harbaugh's been around for a while too.
Right. So, but that's really what I'm looking for with those two Saturday games is, which team kind of which wins out.
Mm-hmm. There was Brandon and I had a little chuckle about this during one of the breaks, but around the NFL Twitter as a headline, apparently somebody asked Kyle Shanahan about this, but they are not changing their coin toss strategy because of Green Bay and Jordan Love.
And what they did last week.
Right.
Dallas.
So that's a thing, I guess, right? That's here. My thing is too, if you're the 49ers, it's kind of similar to Green Bay. If Green Bay is going to say, we want the ball, they win a toss, we want it right away. If you're the 49ers though too, if you're going to quote, if Kyle Shanahan is going to sit there and say, yeah, we're going to alter it,
well,
then that has the negative reaction. Like you don't have confidence.
Right. That's it. You've already got in their head then.
Right.
Like they're making you do what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's a coin toss.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's you got a pretty solid defense. I don't think you're necessarily going to be worried about, oh man, we got to get that offense out there right away.
Right.
So.
But it was not that whoever asked that was not potentially the dumbest question of the week asked by the media.
Yeah.
And I say this as a member of the media, not the national media, obviously, but did you see the video or the clip from the I think it was Todd Bowles.
Oh, the
The
elements playing in the
yeah,
elements
yes,
up there.
yes. Somebody asking Todd Bowles about playing in the elements of Detroit. Detroit plays indoors.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that person felt really bad about it once they figured out,
Realized
hey,
it,
you're playing
yeah.
indoors, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
still, that's a rough way to start the week if you're that reporter.
Yeah. How much do you think
Sometimes.
with this Packers and 49ers game, there's so many similarities and connections, right? I mean, you've got the question out there that everybody kind of asks every year, depending on the games and such. Well, does so and so know so and so better? Do they know what they're doing? Do you know? Obviously, LaFleur worked a lot of years under Shanahan as a Shanahan disciple. Was his quarterback's coach in a couple spots and that sort of stuff. Does that fact, when I see this game, and you can see the similarities with the offenses, right? Motion, misdirection,
Early play action.
Yep. Formations where multiple plays can come out of it. There's that. Does that benefit either side, or does it kind of neutralize it at
I don't
that
think
point?
so. I don't think so. I think it's kind of goes back to what you're saying about the coin toss. I think if either of those guys think, well, he might, he knows some things about me, we have to change everything we do. I think you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Mhm.
So I don't think it makes too much of a difference.
If one thing maybe is it help maybe the team's defenses because they've practiced against similar stuff already, so
Could be, yeah.
they're kind of there because I mean they're not running the exact same plays.
No.
The 49ers, whatever they run, doesn't necessarily mean Green Bay might have similar ones or ones like that, but the playbook isn't the exact same over there. I would have to imagine each team's going to come out with a few different things to try to catch them off guard. A few wrinkles over there, but I guess I don't necessarily buy into that whole, he knows what he's going to do and all that. I know there was that clip from a few years ago. I think it was the NFC Championship game with the 49ers and the Packers where Shanahan's on the sidelines talking to that official saying, watch him. He's going to hold him. He's going to run an out route and he's going to hold him. Like our guy, George Kittle's going to run an out route and that defender's going to hold. And he did exactly that. I don't think that was because play call. I think it's a lot of scouting.
Yeah, that's more scouting. Because remember, that would have been back when McCarthy was there.
No, first year of LaFleur.
Oh, it was the first year of LaFleur. So it was. Oh, so
it was that first NFC Championship game in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, that was okay. I don't know why I got ahead of myself. Sorry.
When they like threw the ball 9 times.
The Raheem Mostert game.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. That's when, and then 49ers lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl over there. So that to me is more the scouting aspect of it. So, the one thing that does when I look at this game and speaking of that running game too, last week was the question, would McCarthy stick with the running game? Because we've seen instances where not. To me, this one's like the complete opposite. Shanahan would have no problem running the ball 50, 55 times.
Right.
If he could get away with it.
This is one where now you're at the point of the year where you can lean on Christian McCaffrey.
Mhm.
Like you don't feel bad if you have to give him 25 carries and then throw him 6 passes.
Right. We've been victims of that. We've seen that before, and he's even been on record talking about how much he would just rather run the ball. So, I mean, knowing that, if you're Joe Barry, how do you not prepare to stop the run, load up the box?
You got to beef up those boxes.
Right.
You can't try to come out like on first down with like a nickel package and say, oh, well, if they run, so be it. When a team wants to run.
Mhm.
It's one thing when you do that against a team that doesn't like to run or, would prefer to throw.
Right.
But you have even though 49ers can't throw, they got some good receiver stuff. You know what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to run the ball.
Right. And I feel like that mindset, and a lot of defensive coordinators do this, not saying Joe Barry's the only one. A lot of them do this, but they have that defensive mindset of like, okay, we're going to make you play perfect offense every drive to score.
We're going to make you go 12 plays down the field instead of 6.
Right.
And while I get that, I mean, as a Viking fan, I still have a little bit of a shell shock from Ed Donatell last year because that's what he wanted. And it would just be, hey, we want to make him make 12 plays to beat us down the field. And teams did.
Right.
Because they were played so soft.
And I feel like with this 49ers offense, who I think is the most balanced offense in the league, top 5 passing and rushing, they don't care.
No, you're playing right into their hands. They're basically
Right.
saying, okay, fine. You want us to run? Okay, we will.
Yeah.
We'll keep your offense off the field. We don't
Right.
care.
Exactly. So that's where I feel like, and I want, and I might be wishful thinking, and you'll appreciate this because he didn't hold anything back. Dan Fouts, Waterboy. I want to see the defense be more aggressive in this one, taking chances, taking risks. Taking a risk in this thing. It might burn them a few times, but I don't feel like you can play that style in this one.
I agree.
I feel like you've got to get your corners up, get them off their routes a little bit, maybe bring some extra blitzes, pressure.
Make Brock Purdy make mistakes.
Yes. You can't just play that style of defense like we're going to, just make them really work for
Rush
it.
4, drop 7.
Yeah.
Defensive backs 8 yards off the line of scrimmage because let's throw slants to Deebo Samuel.
Because Brock Purdy is similar to Love in a lot of facets, isn't he? Where he's playing within the system.
Right.
Call it a game manager, call it playing a system or whatever have you, which I feel like that phrase or that term has been dropped a lot this year.
It has.
System quarterbacks, game managers, whatever.
And it's I think a lot of people almost use it as a derogatory term.
Yeah.
And I don't, because they're literally doing exactly what you want them to do. Like, how is that a bad thing? Like, oh no, they're doing exactly what they're being coached to do and finding success. Oh my gosh, that's so terrible. No,
Right.
it's not.
Right. And you had Bosa coming out with a comment this week about, Aaron would kind of do some off script stuff.
Yeah, freelance his own stuff, but
Yeah.
Jordan Love is doing what he's supposed to.
And Stanovich, the offensive coordinator, kind of said the same thing. And he's like, in the past, he's saying, not saying it was bad, we had success. But a lot of times when Aaron would do that, then you're coming off the field trying to figure out, okay, what was that play? Why was that play? What did you see? You're spending time doing that. Whereas you're playing with a system, you're already, the communication's better at that point. I just find it interesting, and I'm going to try to phrase this and see. I want to see if you can kind of get where I'm getting at here. But you see these veteran quarterbacks, like an Aaron Rodgers at a certain point in their career where, do they get this wealth of knowledge and experience where they start to think, okay, I can do this, I can do. Because I'm thinking of these quarterbacks, some of these really good quarterbacks that have almost made some of these offensive corners. Because I feel like LaFleur, tell me if I'm way off base on this or dramatic on this. When he was first hired, he had 1 year experience of being a play caller in Tennessee. He comes in. And I think for his position, it was good to have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. He can learn from, he can lean on from, kind of have a crutch, right, as Rodgers. But it almost felt like these last few, when Green Bay was ready to make the move for Jordan Love, it wasn't just because Jordan Love was ready, but Matt LaFleur might have been ready too, in terms of the play calling experience. Not to get too dramatic, but kind of what I'm getting at it there. Because I feel like when you look at some of these, it's not for everybody, but these veteran quarterbacks, these very knowledgeable quarterbacks, and I think about their offensive coordinators, and when they get success or get a head coaching job, they tend to maybe not have great careers. Adam Gase.
That was literally with Peyton Manning. That was literally what I was thinking. How many jobs did Adam Gase get because he was the offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning?
Right. Nathaniel Hackett. You're looking at a guy, and I'm not throwing you under the bus of this, but Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
With Tom Brady for that year.
Yeah, when I was in on Byron Leftwich.
A lot of people
as being a head coach a couple years ago when the Vikings needed one.
And I don't think he's anywhere right now.
I don't know what he's doing. Yeah.
You have these veteran, and so it's like, okay, are they doing what the veterans doing? Are they actually, incorporating their own off? You know what I'm trying to get at?
Yes.
A little bit there. Like to me, it's kind of fascinating to look at because I almost feel like since we're in this head coaching cycle, hiring cycle here too, for offensive coordinators, it almost feels like that they're for them to become successful head coaches, would it be a little bit harder in some instances because do you look at the quarterback situations where they came from as an offensive coordinator, whereas if you're a defense coordinator, you mostly got the whole unit. You got some great players.
Yeah, but it's not like, well, it always starts with the inside linebacker.
Right, exactly. Whereas, again, Adam Gase had Peyton Manning. He's had 2 shots at being a head coach, and it was awful.
Yes.
It was not good. And you look at some of these other guys, and it's like, okay, is it because of their system, or is it because was it their quarterback? That's why I was thinking about this the other day with like LaFleur, and I think we all know like his offense. We're seeing something different. It's his offense that we want to see. But maybe, and I know at that hire, a lot of people didn't like it. Like, okay, he doesn't have a lot of experience. It really now when you look back at it, I get it. Hindsight's 2020. But was it for the growth? We're bringing in a young head coach that we see a lot of potential with, something that we could maybe see something really cool down the line. We're going to pair him with that veteran quarterback, so he gains that experience. Had great success right away going to NFC Championship games, but then not only did it feel like that they were ready, that Jordan Love was ready, but maybe Matt LaFleur was ready. Then
I can see that.
Be a little more, take the reins a little bit more.
I can see that.
That makes sense.
I think so.
I'm trying to process it as I'm trying to say it out there, sort of thing. But it's just, and it's not to say not every offense. I mean, could we say Josh McDaniels as an example too of that offensive coordinator?
Yeah, he worked really well with Brady.
Right.
But obviously it didn't work so well for him when he got his chance, to be a head coach.
And that's where it's going to be, I think, seeing some of these young quarterbacks who are having success. What was it like in 10 years? Are they still playing within that system? Because I feel like Drew Brees did. I feel like Patrick Mahomes is under Andy Reid. I feel like those guys are playing. They're great quarterbacks, and they can do a little off-script stuff, and they may have a little bit more freedom. But I feel like they're still playing within the confines of the offense. I feel like Drew Brees did that under Sean Payton throughout his entire career, and Patrick Mahomes is. But I think it'd be an interesting case study to see some of these younger veterans if they start having, or younger guys, if they start having success. Like an Aaron Rodgers, success within the offense. But then does it get like, well, no, we should do it this way, that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
I think it's different for everybody, but kind of interesting in that point too. Because I think we'd all agree Peyton Manning's offenses were predicated on what Peyton Manning wanted to do.
Right, because he was synonymous with audibling at the line and changing things. Omaha, yada, yada, yada.
Yep. Seeing what the defense was and then adjusting it to that sort of thing. So, I was thinking about that the other day. I was getting a little philosophical. Not only was Jordan Love ready, Matt LaFleur was ready too. So, all right, let's take a quick break. We'll have some more football chats coming up here. Don't forget, get your predictions and keys to victory and key matchups coming in. We'll take a quick break and be back after these quick words. I know we're heavy in the football talk here, but also just a quick reminder, Badger basketball is back in action tonight too, taking on Indiana. They're looking to bounce back after their loss to Penn State. And the Bucks will be in action tomorrow night, taking on tomorrow afternoon, taking on the Detroit Pistons. So we do have some hoops action.
We got some basket hoops coming up here.
Yep, exactly. So playoff chitter chat continues rolling on right now. So we talked, for the Packers, Brandon, how do they win this game on Saturday? What do they got to do? Or if they do this, they've got a shot at doing it.
I think it looks a bit like it did Sunday, where you got to get an early lead.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get some turnovers, and you have to be able to slow down the run. I think my big key for both teams is the same. Whichever team runs the football better, I think wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can look at what they did last Sunday against Dallas, and obviously Dallas and San Francisco are two very different teams, but I think you could see something similar being successful for them. You could see the Packers, pressuring Brock Purdy and make him make some mistakes, just like they did with Dak Prescott. You could see them having some success and maybe hitting some shot plays. Now, as you mentioned, with kind of the familiarity, I think the 49ers know, those early shots off play action, is something the Packers are going to do because the 49ers do it too.
Right.
So, no, you can know all you want, something's coming, but how do you prepare it when it comes? So I think it just looks a little bit like Sunday did, where just immediately from that first drive, you just felt like, okay, this team's got momentum right now. Like they've put Dallas kind of, they've knocked them back and kind of put them on their back foot, thinking like, oh, we got to fight here.
Yeah. It's to kind of feed off that too. Like, I went into that game Sunday with the mind, I was trying to tell myself this: don't get too emotionally involved. Thinking like, okay, if it gets bad, or if they lose, don't take,
It's not the end of the world.
Right. We're playing with house money.
It's not the end of the world. Fire everybody.
Right. Getting the experience, but after that first touchdown, that went out the window because of what you just said too. It's like, oh, okay, and then it's 14-0. Like, wait a minute here. Is this? And then I started thinking of like, okay, still remember 2016, the one that Rodgers, hit Cook, and then they had to hit that field goal, and then Celine Dion's song was a big hit on memes after that one over there. But I'm like, okay, then it's like, 21, 27. But even after that extra missed point, I'm like, oh, that's gonna come back, and you still had some of the. Then it's like that second half when they came out and held them a field goal, but then they scored a touchdown right away. Then it's like, oh, snap!
Right
now,
it's just the foot didn't go off the gas.
Right. And then it kind of did.
It did. But at that point, it's still a bit different when it's the fourth quarter and you're up 3-4 scores versus early in the second half.
Right. But I feel a little different heading this one, and because maybe it's just like I'm starting to buy into it a little bit more and get a little bit more into it, sort of thing. But if Green Bay, let's say they get the kick and they go down 75 yards, 8-minute drive. That's the other part too. It wasn't a quick touchdown.
No, it was methodical.
Yeah. And you got the slow-mo camera after that touchdown on Mike McCarthy where he just like kind of shakes his head and it's like, oh, they're in it right now. Green Bay does that right away. Oh, God, I'm going to be so wound up into that thing. I'm going to be wound up so tight that, our dog was freaking out because even Veronica was getting a little into it too, and she just shake it. She hates football. She knows when it's on. But and I can't remember the last time I was so into a game. And I'm not even exaggerating on this. When Savage hit that pick six, I jumped out of my chair, high stepping down the hallway. Like, I just got so into that thing. I'm like, because
did you break out the Merton Hanks?
I did not break out the Merton Hanks.
You might have to bring it out Saturday if it happens again.
If they beat the 49ers, I don't know what. I'm glad it's a Saturday because if they beat the 49ers,
you have all Sunday to recover.
Yeah, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And to be honest with you, it's going to make next week's game even more of a anxiousness for me because there's no way in hell do I want to lose to the Lions in the NFC Championship game.
Right. You don't want to be that team that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know it's not as much of a division as Bears, Vikings.
No, but still.
But I just like, no.
You never want to be the team that allows the other team to make their own history.
Right. Yep. Exactly. But, and that's where I feel like after that Cowboys won, and maybe it's just Packers fans, but there seems to be more like, and I've talked to a couple of 49ers fans, like, yeah, we're kind of nervous. And I think it's mostly from the offensive side from Green Bay, what they've seen over there too. But I'd tell 49ers fans too, hey, don't forget how good you guys are though either too. Don't forget. I'll be curious if the 49ers are rusty, and we won't know until the game starts.
Yeah.
We can't just say, oh yeah, they're going to be. You don't know until we get going here. If they are, I hope Green Bay recognizes that, and I hope they up it up a notch even more in the aggressiveness and try to take advantage of that. Because if it's clearly evident, Purdy's off a little bit with his throws. Maybe the blocking isn't working that well for McCaffrey. They're off to a slow start on offense. That urgency on the Packers offense better be like, hey, we got to take advantage of this. Let's jump out to some double-digit leads or something like that. Same on the defensive side for the 49ers too. If it's evident they're just a step slow until they get up there, attack it, right? Cut the snake off at the head. That's what I say. But I'm too jacked up now, Brandon.
You're just going to be watching that first game tomorrow with your arms folded in your chair going just like.
Honestly, you make fun of that. That's how I do watch games. Even at Lambeau, I'm just sitting there like I'm watching it like this. I'll cheer in that, but I'd not like take the shirt off and
wave it around and
all that. Like
losing your voice by halftime.
But I might if this one. We're not supposed to be doing this right now. So I don't know. I'm trying. It's the whole, am I picking with my head or picking with my heart again?
You went through this last week.
I did. And I got a lot of flack from it. But you know what happened? And I'm superstitious.
You may not be superstitious, but you're a little stitious.
Thank you. So, all right. Should we do some picks then? Because we are going to do game picks and then we're going to make head coaching predictions. Because I feel like next week we're going to start.
We'll start rolling in.
Yeah, we'll start to get some. And even with the openings that are not filled, then I think it becomes clearly evident a little bit more who they're targeting. Like maybe some coaches who are still in the postseason.
Right.
Say the Lions, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, those type of people. So let's take that break. We'll make some picks and predicts coming up after these quick words. Time to make some picks and predicts, brought to you by the Elbow Room. Reminder for tomorrow's game over at the Elbow Room. There will be drink specials going on, free shots for every person in the bar for a Green Bay touchdown. So if it's like last week,
Woo!
get prepared and maybe
Woo!
have a driver.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
So, but that's tomorrow at the Elbow Room during the game, San Fran, Green Bay. Again, drink specials going on and free shots for every person who is in the bar when Green Bay scores a touchdown. So, looking for somewhere maybe to catch that game? Think of the Elbow Room over by Banbury Place there. Do you want to do the coaches or the games first?
Don't matter.
Let's do the coaches first. How about that? We'll do coaches first. That way it gives less time for people to give me crap about my potential Packers pick. So we know the Patriots already. Let's go with the Washington Commanders first, Brandon. Who do you think is going to be the next Washington Commanders head coach?
This one, I'm going to go with who I think is probably the hottest commodity, and that's Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
I think being able to go to Washington, new ownership, high draft pick, they can get their quarterback of the future. I think that's, you've already got some receivers there with Terry McLaurin and some other guys. Like, I think that's not a bad spot to jump into.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Ben Johnson.
They got their new general manager, Adam Peters, who comes over from the San Francisco 49ers. He was the assistant general manager over there. So do you potentially look at somebody from that 49er staff that would follow him over there? However, apparently there is a little bit there was a report that Ben Johnson appears to have a little bit of connection, but they don't have an immediate connection according to the stuff out there. Thought out there that there was some sort of connection, but apparently there isn't. The other person I thought of, maybe Bobby Slowick, came from the Niners, Houston, over there. I'll tell you what, I agree with you. I'm going with Ben Johnson. I know last year Carolina loves them some Ben Johnson, it sounds like, even last year and this year. And I don't want to go to that situation right now. So it's a better situation in Washington right now. Yeah, I'm going to go Ben Johnson.
For the first time in a while, it's a better situation.
Right. I mean, if you look at a lot of these blogs or articles out there, rankings like the best job, Washington's up there, which is kind of surprising. So, all right, Chargers.
I know you said that you didn't think he was going to take it. I think it ends up.
I was leaning.
Okay, I think it's Jim Harbaugh. Okay. I think he's in a spot now where he's accomplished what he can in Michigan. And, again, if he gets paid a bunch of money and apparently can never be punished for anything he may have done, not that he did, but if I were to, I want to make sure I can't be punished for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it makes sense. Nice, warm weather city, big market. He's got his quarterback.
He is familiar with the West Coast.
He's familiar with the West Coast. Like, I think that actually makes the most sense. So I'll go with Jim.
You're right. There was part of me that was kind of like, okay, is it kind of, because I heard that report that they were still negotiating with Michigan and such. Does he still go? Ultimately, though, I agree with you again. I'm going with Harbaugh with the Chargers. But the thing that gives me pause, it just seems too obvious.
This is true. It does.
It seems way too obvious at this point. So that's what makes me a little bit nervous. But you're right. If Harbaugh has said, and I think his actions speak this too, if he feels like he's got unfinished business in the NFL, one, time is kind of running out. You got a great situation with the Chargers with your quarterback already and some talent around that. Not many of these other opportunities potentially could come up. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers over there. Raiders, this one might be kind of easy.
I think we're going to be the same one. I'm going to go Antonio Pierce. I don't think Mark Davis makes the same mistake again.
Yep.
I think he goes with the interim coach that everybody liked, and he wants to keep Max Crosby. So,
yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think the Max Crosby thing was kind of the nail that maybe shut that coffin, if you will, or shut that door over there. It's not the flashy pick that he likes. But no,
But how many times has the flashy pick burned them?
right.
Go
Yep.
with the one your team wants.
Yep. I know there has been some talk about Harbaugh with the Raiders and such,
Ugh.
but I go with your team. Otherwise, if you don't, then you got to bring in a coach where it's going to be a complete rebuild because guys are going to want out.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you. Falcons.
Another one, I think, the obvious one, I think, is Bill Belichick. Getting the second interview, him and Arthur Blank getting all buddy.
Yep.
I think Belichick goes there to get the record.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but again, I agree with you.
Hey, knock it off. We're gonna be different here at some point.
If these reports are true, the writing's on the wall, isn't it? And it sure seems like this is the only one Belichick has been interviewing with. And if it was the first meeting, just Arthur Blank and Belichick, now you're involving the general managers and such, it's progressed to another step. So, yeah, I think he's going to, and it's going to look really weird.
Yes, it is.
It's going to look really weird.
Yes, it is.
Let's go with Seattle.
Are we going to go 5 for 5 here?
I don't know.
Because it wasn't a great one last week, but I think Dan Quinn.
Okay.
I don't, last week obviously was not maybe great for his candidacy, but I think the connection there, I think he comes back. I'm going to go Dan Quinn.
So this is, remember, John Schneider's first shot at hiring a head coach. Because when he got hired as general manager over there, Pete Carroll was already in place. So this is for as long as John Schneider has been there and has been a real general manager when he went from Green Bay over there, this is the first time he is hiring a coach. I am not going Dan Quinn. I'm not going Dan Quinn on this one. I'm not confident in this pick because part of me almost feels like that would Schneider go offensive? He's got 3 receivers to with an offensive minded head coach, an up and coming first time head coach. I don't think so. I'm a little hesitant on that. The one connection, I mean, Bobby Slowick grew up in Green Bay. Does he have a connection with John Schneider? You're kind of that over there, but I'm going Vrabel. I'm going to go Mike Vrabel over there. I'm not 100% confident in that, though, because I don't know if John Schneider wants a retread. But do you count Vrabel a retread? Because that was just kind of like why did you fire him?
Right.
Sort of.
Yeah, and I don't know if I do. And like there are, and remember, there are examples of making jobs being much better.
Right. Yep.
Bill Belichick.
Yep.
Andy Reid.
Yep.
I mean, Andy Reid had a lot of success in Philly, but I don't necessarily think a retread is always a bad thing.
No, I think again that still kind of gets the negative,
right?
Too. So, but I'm going to go Vrabel on that one. So I think they just interviewed too. I think that might have been his first. Speaking of Vrabel, Tennessee.
I'm going to go with a guy another one that I mentioned, was kind of in the, talked about with the Vikings a few years ago that I really like, and that's Raheem Morris. I think, and again, you can call him a retread, former Buccaneers coach, but I like his kind of coaching path because he's coached both offense and defense. I think, I don't know, I just like that connection there with Raheem Morris in Tennessee.
I am going to go defensively. Oh, Aaron Glenn. I think the Lions are going to be like the Phillies of last year where both coordinators get poached. And that one to me, I don't know why I'm trying, because that one is such a weird situation over there in Tennessee. I don't know what to be honest with you. I mean, you've got Will Levis as your quarterback. I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins is going to be there or not. So is it kind of a rebuilding sort of thing? Maybe they go on an offensive side to try to get the most out of Will Levis. They could do that. Maybe it's a Frank Smith from Miami, or maybe it is a Bobby Slowick. I just keep going to Aaron Glenn for whatever reason. So I'm going to shoot my shot and say Aaron Glenn with that one. Then finally, do we got Carolina? Is that the last one? Okay, Carolina, because we did all. No. Yeah, Carolina.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
And
all
this,
I have this almost feels like Houston from the last couple of years before.
So no, there were 2 that popped in my head. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go Bobby Slowick.
Okay.
I think that they've got the young quarterback. They see what he's been able to do with CJ Stroud. Maybe there's a little buyer's remorse there from last year, but they say, you know what? Do that with our guy. Like, they want to get the young offensive mind, to pair with Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go Bobby Slowick.
I'm going back and forth between two. One is Bobby Slowick. One is one name we haven't mentioned yet that was getting a lot of interviews initially. That's Mike McDonald, defense coordinator for the Ravens. But I feel like Carolina wants that offensive person. So I agree with you. I'm going Bobby Slowick by the slimmest of margins right now. Mike McDonald would be maybe another one for Tennessee, but I almost feel like, too, he's in a driver's seat, maybe kind of similar to D'Amico Ryans, where he can kind of almost pick and choose where he wants to go. And I think he's in a really good situation with Baltimore right now. That's not to mean it's always going to be like that, because that is a risk, taking it to Byron Leftwich. No, I think Carolina really, because I got to imagine Houston did a lot of prep work on Bryce Young leading up to the draft last year, just in case, right? I mean, they had to have done that. You would think Bobby Slowick's kind of familiar with that, being involved in that. I think that's where they'll go to. So
the other guy I was thinking there, if they really wanted to try to turn things around and kind of re-energize that fan base a little bit, was Mike Vrabel. Like,
do you think he'd take that though?
I don't know. That's it. I don't know if he would. Like, he can afford. He could sit out here if he want to. And I guess in my scenario, I have him doing that.
Be Bill's defensive coordinator in Atlanta.
or being some sort of ancillary coach somewhere for a year to kind of keep himself in the game. But yeah, I for the reasons you mentioned, the ones I mentioned, I think Slowick is the guy.
Maybe Mike McDaniel over in Seattle too, or not McDaniel, McDonald, Ravens defense.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we actually we
were pretty similar.
Yeah, we were very similar over there. All right, so some games. We got a few minutes left. Some games here. Let's start with Houston, Baltimore. Do you want to do lines on this?
Yeah, let's do lines.
Okay, I'll bring up the lines on here. I mean, we know who's the favorite, but where's that line kind of at this point in time here? Come on, load up here. I mean, you're picking the Ravens, right?
I am.
Okay. I kind of figured that. No breaking news there. The line currently is 9.5.
I will take Baltimore to cover. I'll say they win by like 13.
Okay.
So maybe like a 27-13 Baltimore.
I think Baltimore wins. I'm going to go 30-13. I'll go 30-13 with that one.
Your price is right, me. You're just
I know.
A couple up.
We're going to skip this one for the last one. How about Tampa Bay versus Detroit?
I think Tampa Bay has a better shot in this than maybe some people are giving them. But ultimately, I do think Detroit. I think that, playing at home in that environment, I think it's going to be tough, a little bit tougher on that Tampa Bay offense, even though I do think the Tampa Bay offense is going to move the ball. That last week, I think they showed against the Rams, like, that defense still is not. I think eventually that defense, or that defensive issues they have bites them. But I don't think it's quite yet. So I'm going to take Detroit. What's the line?
6.5.
But I will take Detroit, but I say Tampa Bay covers.
Okay.
I'll take like a 27-23.
I just don't know what version of Tampa Bay is going to show up.
Right.
And I remember at the beginning of the year, we talked about this Tampa Bay team. Like, they got players still.
Yeah.
And it was just, we didn't know what Baker Mayfield was going to do.
Turns out Baker Mayfield just shouldn't have been, or he shouldn't have been out there playing when he was hurt.
Right.
Because that's the mistake he made. Or he did it because he was for whatever it was, whatever the scenario was, didn't work.
Right. Todd Bowles is going to blitz the crap out of Jared Goff. Jared Goff, that's kind of his issues over there. I'll go Lions, but they don't cover. Like 23-20. I'll go that way. I agree with you. I think it could be sneaky good. Sneaky close. Really quickly here, let's go to Buffalo, Kansas City. This line is at 3 for Buffalo. So I mean, it's even.
I will take Buffalo, and I think it's a push. I think this Buffalo wins by 3. I think this is the one where they break through.
I think Buffalo wins too, and it's a close one. I'm going to say Buffalo covers though. It's going to be like 4 or 5, some weird number like that. And then San Francisco and Green Bay. That line is also 9.5.
I'm gonna pick Green Bay.
Oh, what?
Yep.
Oh, you sorry son of a.
I like the way they're playing, and as I mentioned,
I don't know
earlier,
if this is the kiss of death or
not
know
necessarily. So I remember the year the Packers played the Buccaneers in the NFC title game. I picked Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But I like the way they're playing, and I think the things they did against Dallas, some of those things they could do against San Francisco.
Wow. I should have went first.
I stole your buzz.
Oh my god.
So I'll take Green Bay like 27-24.
Wow. Anders Carlson with the game winner.
I never said that. They're gonna score 4 touchdowns. He'll miss an extra point.
I'm gonna go 30. I'll go 30. 30-20 San Francisco.
Why do I believe in the Green Bay Packers and you don't?
You know what? Dallas looked like they overlooked Green Bay. 49ers aren't going to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay squeaks it out. I mean, a little bit of me would be surprised. I mean, come on, it's San Francisco. A little bit of me would be a surprise at least. But hey, I picked against them last week. I'm superstitious, so that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, but now you acknowledge that you're...
Don't mess with my head.
You acknowledge the juju.
Don't mess with my head. I'll go get my Joe Boo and, figure that all out.
Get your rum.
Yep. All right. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the games. Have a good weekend. We'll see if Brandon's a new Packers fan coming up after this weekend.
Bad chance.
Talk to you Monday.